Welcome to the Reinventing the Tattoo community. This is Sunday Reinventing Drawing Groups with Jason Leeser. Happens 1 o'clock Eastern every Sunday. And we want to thank you for tuning in. This is going out via the Reinventing the app. You can find it in either of the app stores, as well as going straight to community.reinventingthetattoo.com. I want to check to make sure this is going out on the YouTubes. If it's working for you, let us know in the chat rooms that this is streaming for you. And I would love to, in the meantime, share my screen and go over some of the other upcoming events that we have. We are beaming out about 5 to 7 times a week. And at any given time in that community, in the app, if you go to the library, you could find all of the old shows. But I would love to chat about what we have coming up. So Monday mornings at 9 o'clock, we have the Reinventing Drawing Group with Jake Meeks. Monday at noon, we often have Let's Talk Tattoo with Mark Lascarbo from Needlejig. And he's got some interviews. Sometimes he does Q&A. At 9 o'clock at night, every Monday, is the subscriber exercises with Guy Aitchison, and that's exclusively for Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscribers. On Tuesday, we have Building a Tattoo Machine with Tony Urbanik. This is a series of 8 webinars. We're just about halfway through. It's not too late. Whenever you're watching this, you can go to reinventingthetattoo.com/build-a-tattoo-machine. And for $300, you get the ingredients and 1.5 2-hour webinars where you will build it with with hand tools. And it's amazing watching Tony go through that and do that. Let's see, Tuesday the 9th at 1 o'clock Eastern, right after, we've got Lines of Influence, from classic masterworks to modern tattooing. These are art history talks with Guy Aitchison, hosted by Guy Aitchison, and this time is with Gunnar. And Gunnar's got a great knowledge, and it's pretty sick. The last one that Guy did was with Travis Louis. So yeah, definitely go check out the library to check out the replay of that. Then let's see, we have Hablamos de Arte con Bruno. We have an art group in Spanish that's happening at 9 Eastern on Tuesday. It's going to be a big Monday and Tuesday coming up. Then that'll go late, but don't worry, we get up early. And World Tattoo Events, Alex Van Dutch will be interviewing Bijay from the Nepal Tattoo Convention. And yeah, I mean, we just keep having more events. Coming up every Thursday is Tattoo Collecting Podcast and with Jordan Rukas and Fawn Baker. That happens noon every Thursday. They interview tattoo collectors. You can see here upcoming, there's an art jam with Stefano Fabridi the first Wednesday of March. And then way in the future, we have a real life convention appearances coming up. The International Brussels Tattoo Show's happening this November. We'll be over there with a couple of good friends doing seminars, art jams. Hopefully we'll be doing a Reinventing catch-up day and night. And then, of course, Hill City Columbuses. You could always find these replays here in the library and videos. You'll see here are all of the shows. Okay, so I'm going to thank our sponsors real quick. You want to check out the inkjet stencils section. And not only do they have a group where you could upload your own stencil porn, but they have examples and demos here in this folder. There is a full digital editing for inkjet stencils webinar with Frank Conception. And then there's also instructions here on how to get a free inkjet stencil test. So you could treat some images for upcoming tattoos, and they will send up to 5 free samples for you. You should also make sure to check out courses.reinventingthetattoo.com. And this is the professional development section of what you have, or what we have going on, what you're seeing here. And yeah, you can purchase all the other seminars. We got BJ Betts lettering, but the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon is the main one we talk about right now, because this is the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon. This includes what used to be the book and is now an online course, and it just has tons of lessons here. It's got the whole 9 yards, and each of these lessons has potentially has webinars or texts. They have exercises. You can see we have the webinar library where most of the webinars sit. It is a tremendous resource, as well as access to Monday exercises. So yeah, if you go to courses.reinventingthetattoo.com, then you can check out the Reinventing and as well as the Canon. Okay, I am going to drop into the background. I will be reading off comments and stuff from the chat room. I've got a browser window open, so I should be able to surf on over to influences. And in the meantime, I'm going to pass it off to Jake. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for, or Jason, for hosting.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's another Sunday edition of the Reinventing Drawing Group. As always, today's platform is pretty freeform. Feel free to join in with chats if you want. If you're checking this out, I noticed Fred mentioned that he told his mentor about this app. He's checking it out with him. That's awesome. Happy to have you here. Um, we're pretty much here just to go through and do some live drawing and have some discussions about certain things. I generally try to keep this pretty art focused. However, we may be getting someone that pops in a little bit later. Lauren from World Tattoo Events, um, who might be popping in to strike up a discussion about pigments a little bit later on. Today, I'm just kind of going through and doing some doodling. Any of you ever have any questions, anything you'd like me to discuss or talk about, or topics that maybe you want to get a different perspective on, by all means feel free to drop in a chat, or leave a comment on the video if you watch it after the fact. I do go through and try to check those out every week, and just see what people are commenting, and if there's anything anyone wants to have covered. um, Today I'm basically just going to be sketching and doodling, laying out a back piece, doing some thumbnailing for that. Just working on it a little bit by little bit as like a rough sketch for someone I work with. So obviously there's no rush there. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. Well, hopefully not, knock on wood. But yeah, if anyone would like to join in, please feel free. You can reach out to myself or Gabe in any one of the chat rooms, and we'll be happy to send you the link. Join in via Zoom if you're comfortable with doing that. If
Actually,
you're not,
sorry, just
that's
to
totally
butt in
fine.
real quick. The only way to get the link is to go through the app, because whenever we put it around the Facebooks or the YouTubes, then the spammers got a hold of it. So if you would like to join, then download the Reinventing the Tattoo app, and or go to the community.reinventingthetattoo.com and go to the event listing. You'll see this event, and you'll see the link. It says artists. Zoom in.
Yeah, and we're always open for more participation in these. The more engaging it is, the better. And the more discussions that we have about different things, and the more people that jump in and participate, the better it is. You never know who you're going to meet, and with COVID going on, and a lot of us, um, if a lot of us can't make it out to tattoo conventions right now, nor are we actually thinking about doing that just yet. I know I myself am giving it a few more months before I start attending again, but I really did miss the community aspect of conventions, which is why I volunteered to host these and, meet some new people. Last Sunday, I believe we were having a nice discussion with someone from South Africa, which was amazing. Someone I might not have ever met unless we met up at a convention somewhere. And even then, the possibilities are, a little bit smaller, to go through and actually have a discussion with them. Um, so that's why using a platform like this can be very, very beneficial. It's great to just go and network with different people. So yeah, I'm like I said, I'm just going through and doing some thumbnailing today. Just had someone mention that it's their first time here and they're super excited. Well, welcome, welcome. Feel free to obviously you're in the app, so feel free to jump in and click on the Zoom button if you feel like joining us live. If not, that's totally cool too. Feel free to just chat with us through the chat box. That'll work as well. Don't ever let anyone tell you that there's no such thing as magic beans, because coffee is the nectar of the gods. I love it. So I'm just going to be thumbnailing a couple of praying mantises today. I'm trying to get like an idea of like layout. So I got a couple of like, I don't know how well you can really see this, but I've got a couple of like back piece stock images. Some are 3D models, some are photographs. Just trying to get like an idea of layout, size, and flow. And I've got a couple of good little ideas for different perspectives I can go with for this praying mantis concept. Um, Obviously, I want to stick with something that's going to be a bit taller than it is wide. So I already have like some favorite images of mine picked out. But I always like to pull up one or two just for the anatomy, just so that I can go through and take a look and say, oh, okay, this part goes this way and this part goes that way, and this part's a little bit bigger than that. So let's pull up a good one for anatomy. Let's say this is a good guy. And we're just going to throw this up here for a reference photo. Not actually going to be like, looking off of it for size or position, but it's just there so that I can go through and pick out and say, okay, here are the eyes. It's got more of like a triangular head. These fold down like so. So I'm just going to be sketching through. One thing I always like to do whenever I'm laying out a large scale piece is I like to go through and just kind of do a rough layout of how I want it to flow. Hey, Ricardo. Uh, yeah, you should see a button in the app. Click on that and it should prompt you. You might have to download the app to zoom in, but that's how you would go about doing it. I always like to do like a little quick rough sketch, just so that I can get an idea of where do I want the eye to move and how do I want the overall flow to go. I always like going based on the divine proportion rule, and I actually have one of my brushes that's golden ratio. So I always like to, just do one of these guys, make that a bit more translucent. Sometimes I'll even do two of them, just so that you can get a really nice visual appeal as far as where do you want them to move their eye, and where do you want it to go. If I want, obviously, my focal point to say be here, then I'm definitely going to want something to curve along that outer line to bring my eye back up into it. Even if it doesn't, even if it goes like off the canvas or out of bounds in some type of a way, it's always good to at least have a rough idea of how do you want that to flow. Now, I'm not really like positive how well you guys can see this. Let me see if I can zoom in, see if it's a little bit more clear. I do have it pretty light. Hey, Ricardo.
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, it's going all right. How about yourself?
Not too bad. It's pretty excited to be here.
You
Yeah, it's
sound
always a
loud
fun
and
time.
clear. Whatever microphone and headset you're using is great.
It's actually just the thank you. It's actually just the Apple earbuds that came with the phone. So
No shit. Well, everyone else is upgrading, it seems, because
yeah, that's
that's
awesome.
crazy. Cool.
Great.
And where are you beaming in from? We've chatted on the app, I think, right?
Yes, sir. We sure have. I'm coming from a place called Bloomington, Illinois. It's about 2 hours south of Chicago and 2 hours north of St. Louis.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Who else is so, well, there's obviously a lot of great people in that neck of the woods.
Yeah. There's a lot of really great artists around here, man. So
I mean, and right in the middle of Guy Aitchison country.
yeah, I
Yeah,
thought that he was like down south somewhere around there. So
yeah, he's probably another 4 hours south of you. If you're, he's like 5 hours or south of Chicago.
right. Yeah, like I said, I'm right in the middle, man. So I'm not too far from him.
Awesome. Are you
Yeah.
working on any art right now, or?
I've got my sketchbook here, and I was going to kind of like doodle along with Jason here, and then kind of go from there, man.
Awesome. Well, why don't you start off? You had it right before with your phone turned sideways.
Okay.
And then
There we go.
why don't you give everybody a little bit of an introduction? Let us know about you, and then yeah, get back to drawing.
Okay. Well, my name is Ricardo Sturdivant. I go by Ricky. You guys can call me whatever you want to, just not Rick. um, I've been tattooing since 1998. I've been drawing even, as long as I can remember. I moved around a lot as a kid. So I had spent a lot of time by myself and stuff like that. So I just kind of picked up art, man. I really fell in love with it, at a young age. I've been tattooing since, like I said, since 98, but I'm always looking to improve. I think I kind of came up in a time in tattooing where everything was so tight-lipped, you know what I mean? Everything was so secretive, and it was like really hostile kind of environment sometimes, you know what I mean? So I got a little bit more excited about the idea once the internet started coming around about everybody sharing more information. And like Jason was saying earlier, being able to meet new people via this conduit, you know what I mean? So it's pretty awesome, especially right now with the whole COVID thing going on. I know everybody feels different about it, but I'm still trying to play it on the safe side too. So, yeah, there's some of my work you're checking out right now.
That's dope, dude.
Thanks, man. That charcoal one was a really fun one. I had to sell some of this stuff over quarantine, and I was really kind of sad to let that one go, but I was pretty excited that somebody was like enthused enough to buy it from me. You know what I mean? So,
Oh, absolutely, man. It's like the
yeah,
greatest compliment we can get being an artist, is like someone willing to pay, a price for an original work of art.
exactly. Yeah, it's pretty exciting, man. I tell people that a lot. Like, I got a lot of young entrepreneurs coming up to me after I've tattooed them. This one guy's a great chef, man. Him and his girlfriend are starting their own like farm to table kind of thing, and he asked me a couple years back, like, what did I think my idea of success was? And I told him, the idea that you get to eat, the idea that you can pay for your food and pay for your clothes and stuff like that. That's successful, especially doing something that you love to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's empowering, and it's awesome that you can kind of set your own standards and live by your own rules and then still make your way through life. You know what I mean? It's incredible.
Right?
So,
Yeah, I remember watching a documentary. It's called "Making It: How Life as an Artist," I believe.
okay.
Um, and it was mind blowing. A friend of mine named Dennis, a guy I used to work with at a previous studio, pulled it up and put it on one day, just kind of in the background, and it blew my mind. And to this day, it's still one of the most influential documentaries I think I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Making It. Nobody teaches you to live as an artist. It's something it's never taught to us.
Yep.
People that have gone through formal school and people that haven't. There's
Right.
no real like guideline for living as an artist. And it's like, okay, well, you got to hustle. You have to bust your butt in order to succeed and to get where you are. But that's how you know when you've arrived. That's how you
Yeah.
know you've made it. When you can sit back and pay all of your bills, put
Yep.
food on your table and a roof over your head, and then maybe have a little bit more to save, you're
Yep.
doing pretty well, man.
Yeah. I
That's
agree with you
putting you
completely.
way over the curve.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I couldn't agree with you anymore. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to check that documentary out when I get a chance. So,
Dude, it's one of those documentaries that when you look at it and you look at some of the people featured in it, you sit back and you're like, whoa, all right, all right. Good thing I'm evaluating and reevaluating because like it gets pretty deep.
that's
It gets
awesome.
really deep into like the philosophy of, how do you
Mhm.
gauge success? How do you gauge, when have you made it as an
Yep.
artist? When
Yep.
people will commission you for work, when you can list up something and sell it for whatever you want. Is
Yeah.
it by demand? Is it by, your own personal guidelines as far as, okay, I executed this absolutely flawlessly.
Hmm.
This is one of the most proud pieces I've ever done. I'm at that level now.
Yeah.
Is it more of a personal reflection, or is it more of a a, a point of view where other people are looking at you and saying, dude, you've made it. you know? So me, I always take more of that personal motivation because I'm probably one of my own worst critics. No,
Yeah, man.
I can pick out flaws in every tiny little thing I do, from every
Yep.
sketch, every painting, every tattoo, you name it. I
Yeah.
can pick out every flaw in it and how I could improve upon it. And that just makes me work harder, you
Yep.
know? But everyone's got their own little gauge of how are you successful. Some people say, oh, well, I know I've made it when I can charter my own jet.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need that. You know, I would
Right.
rather fly economy class, squeezed in between, 5 or 6 different people, barely having enough room to move my elbows. To me, I'm fine with that. I don't need my own jet.
Yep.
So, everyone's got their own little gauge on it. But
Well, that's interesting, man, that you say that, because I think you're absolutely right, first of all. And I'm the same way. Like, I could live in a tiny little room as long as it had a fridge and a stove and some place that I can put some of my clothes and stuff like that, and like something soft to sleep on, like I'd be okay with it, honestly. But I think that has a lot to do with what you're saying. Is I think it has a lot to do with interpretation and perspective. You know what I mean? Like, you have 3 or 4 people in the same room and everybody looks at the world through a different filter. You know what I mean? So like that in turn creates their own reality, like the reality of the world that they see around them. It can be an entirely different world than the person standing right next to you, man. You know what I mean? And even if sometimes it boils down to just a bad day, sometimes even, so I agree with you completely. Like, it's all interpretation. And
oh,
you're
without
talking about,
question, man.
yeah, and you're talking about like this art thing and like people going to school to become an artist, a fine artist, like education artist wise. uh, you know I'm taking a painting class right now online with a guy named Joseph Todorovich. It's great. His art is awesome. His painting technique is great. But even he's been telling me, he's like, you still learn all these techniques, but it ends up boiling down to, it's still refined by your methodology, your technique, the way that you see it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like, even colors, they appear differently to each person. So you're going to apply them differently than the person next to you. So it's great
Oh,
though.
absolutely, man.
It's
And
great.
it's a profound thing too, because and this is something I picked up in a class I took in college.
Mhm.
Um, it so how you said, like, everyone's got their own perspective on everything, man. It was really enlightening that you said that, because that reminded me of, a very hard lesson I had to learn, something that blew my mind. I remember sitting in class one day, and I think it was like a science class or computers class, or just some, like, a philosophy class, something to fill up credits.
Mhm.
And on the first day, the professor came in and said, everyone views the world through their own set of glasses. Those glasses are colored by our own personal experiences and knowledge.
Yep.
No one in the world has ever had the exact same experiences that you have had. That
Yep.
makes your glasses tinted a very unique color. That is going
Absolutely.
to reflect in the way that you see and view everything in the world.
Yep. Yeah,
And
man.
you're absolutely 100% spot on.
Yep.
you know I've been through different things than you have, and you've been through different things than I have. And you know because of that, it's like, all right, well, if this is the way that you view the world, hey man, more power to you. Let me know if I
Yep.
can help, and let me know if I can do anything for you, because I
Yeah.
don't know what that's like.
Right.
And I think it's a
Exactly.
lost concept today.
It boils down to, like, that's kind of what's going on in the world these days too. You know what I mean? Like, everybody thinks that there's this black and white kind of thing where it's just one way or another, and it's not the case, man. There's so many finite little areas, so many gray areas in the world that, like, I think if we all appreciated the fact that we've all been there at some point or another, it's just a little bit different than yours, or we've gone through the exact same thing, but your ego has allowed you to be and maintain this anger or this hostility and stuff, where other people have seen it and they're like, man, I don't want to be like that anymore, and you choose not to be. So that's the path you end up taking, so
Right.
it's one or the other. You're pissed and mad, or you're blaming everybody else, man. And yeah, it's wild, dude. But I agree. It's all about a perspective, and it's all about an interpretation. So, I think if we all understood that about each other and appreciated it, we could be in a lot better place, dude. Agreed.
Dude, I completely agree.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just
It's
had
incredible.
a comment come in from Fred the Apprentice on the app. For me, having a tattooer say, I can work with you, was making it for me, dude, more power to you, man. More
Yeah.
power to you. And it's a profound thing too when you can, go in and talk to an artist and have them turn around and say, "Hey, absolutely. I can work with you. We can do that." You know, um, if you're an apprentice and you're seeking an apprenticeship, or you're trying to learn the craft, having them turn around and say, "Okay, cool. You're in. Let's go." That can be a really big stepping point, and it's huge because from there, sometimes it's kind of a daunting task, but you then start to realize how many rungs up the ladder you still need to climb. It's a good start, but there's still a lot to learn and there's still a lot to go. So, I mean, that's once again my 2 cents on it, but everyone's got their own definition of making it. For me, it was being able to sit down and talk to different guys around the world that are world class leading artists that, I personally don't think I'm worthy enough to breathe the same air that they do. But, it's intimidating sometimes, especially when you're surrounded by guys that are your idols and you're sitting back and you're not commenting or saying a single word because who are you to them? But then swallowing that and saying, you know what, we all do the same thing. We're all on the same page. We're all on the same level. Yeah, I can throw my 2 cents in here, and not being afraid of that and having that confidence, not necessarily an ego, but a confidence to just say, hey, we all know the same things. Here's my 2 cents on it. You know, this is what I think about it. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can enlighten me to a different perspective. Show me how you're viewing the world through your colored glasses. And that maybe that'll change my mind and maybe I'll start to see things a little bit differently. But I think it all depends on discussion. The
Yeah.
more we can communicate as a community, the more knowledge that we can share and the perspectives that we can bring to the table, I think the stronger that the community will be as a whole.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good way to put it, man. That's perfect.
Well, I look at tattooing and the art and the craft of tattooing in a very different perspective than a lot of people. Having done a lot of homework and research before I ever started to tattoo, just trying to understand what tattooing was. I wanted to know what it was before I decided to make the leap and get into it. And this was many years ago. But I really started to look at it and I started to look at the people that were doing tattoos, not, at the turn of the century, but I started to look at, okay, well, where are the roots of it? Where does it come from? What type of people were tattooers thousands of years ago? Look at Otzi the Iceman, perfectly preserved. He's got some of the oldest tattoos in the world. They found Egyptian mummies that are also heavily tattooed, that are perfectly preserved, and those are right up there with Otzi the Iceman. And those are actually interesting because they're pictorial tattoos, and some of them are of cats. So apparently, cat tattoos they've been being done for quite a long time. But when you look at tattooing thousands of years ago, you had a lot of shamans and religious heads of the community. Those were the people that were doing tattoos. They were the well respected, the cultural, some of the cultural leaders that were the ones that were allowed to do them because they had a very deep spiritual and almost a metaphysical kind of property to permanently inscribing, whether it's a magical talisman or a blessing or some kind of sacred symbol on someone forever. That was held in very high regard, and obviously there's ebbs and flows in the world and there's, everything waxes and wanes a little bit here and there as far as importance and perspective and all that stuff. But I think we're now at a crossroads where we're experiencing a cultural renaissance in the tattoo community, where we finally hit that peak, where we can turn around and say, yes, this is a legitimate form of fine art. Let's expand that into the community and grow the community as a whole stronger. And so I've got that very deep seated like respect for it because I'm now doing something, I'm a tattooer. I'm practicing a tradition and a craft that goes back thousands of years, that was once held in one of the most high regards of any member of any community. You know, it's, I take it very seriously and very personally, when, I get together with other tattooers, because it's like, imagine all of the shamans or religious leaders across the world getting together and saying, okay, cool. We all do the same thing. We all teach about something very, very similar. Let's get together and put our heads together and improve everything going on. How can we do that? And, that's one of the reasons that led me to this community as a whole, like this reinventing community, because I saw the potential there. And I saw that, hey, you know what? These guys really know what they're doing. And it's a really good way for me to connect with other people that have the same kind of philosophy in mind. So, I take it pretty seriously. And, I have that kind of a deep seated respect for it. It's just my own personal view on it, but that's part of the way that I see the craft of tattooing. And if we can elevate that even higher than it currently is, I'm all about it. Like, bring it on.
Yeah, the better education that everybody has as a group, the higher elevation that we all maintain, or that we all gather out of it. You know what I mean? So like you said, if you're able to listen to somebody else's interpretation, somebody else's perspective, there's so many things that you could kind of gather that you would have never thought of, because all you ever do is innocently, hopefully, look through your own perspective as it is. So if you can interpret it through a different filter and understand it, it helps you grow. So it's pretty incredible.
And growth is something that should never, ever, ever stop.
No, I agree with you, man. You might as well hang it up if you think you're at the best you'll ever be.
Or even if you get to that point where you're like, no, I'm good, I'm at a comfortable spot. It's like, well, okay, I need to check myself and take a step back.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
all right, I should not be doing this. I should not be, I need to take a step back and reevaluate, where am I in life and what do I need to do to get out of this mindset of, oh, I'm comfortable, I'm cool, I'm good. I've done this and turned out really well. So, I don't really need to do too much else.
Right.
Wrong.
Yep.
But I mean, once again, that's my own personal philosophy and perspective on it.
Well, I happen to agree with you, man. I think it's a great one. So,
hey, real quick, Ricardo, could you point the camera at whatever it is that you're drawing?
right now, let me flip this around real fast, see if I can. Right now, I'm just kind of getting the thumbnail
Cool.
that he has going on. I'm trying to get that a little bit more proportioned, and then I'm just going to follow the directions after that and see where we go.
Sweet. Awesome.
But I'll keep posting it up, and I think I might have to plug my phone in here a little bit, so I might go silent for a little bit. But either way, I'll keep posting some pictures here for you guys.
Awesome. Sweet.
Thanks, man. Cool.
So now that we've got you following along, man. So
Yep.
just a quick little piece de resistance on what I like to do and how I like to do it. If I'm laying out a back piece, man, I always incorporate a little bit of a golden spiral in there, just to give me an idea on where do I want the eye to go, and it's going to automatically give me a perfect flow. It always ends up being more of like an S shape. You can position them and twist it around a little bit more. If I had moved, let's see, I'll bring this back. So if I take this, and if I want the focal point to be in the dead center, maybe I'll twist the golden spiral around a little bit, and that'll give me a little bit of a different flow. If I want it to be over on the shoulder, I'll rotate that around again. That'll work a little bit better. But generally speaking, I always like to have my focal points offset. Makes a more visually interesting piece and creates more diagonal lines. Diagonal lines, as the great masters understood it, create movement. It forces your eye to follow a diagonal, and it forces you to look in a specific direction. The more diagonal lines you have in a piece, the busier and the more movement you can create. When you cut that down and you start to only use diagonal movement in certain spots, that immediately becomes more of a focal point, and it immediately moves your eye in a specific direction. The human eye always lends itself to following repeating patterns as well, and it follows them in specific directions. Look at anything that's been done with like snakes, and how the scale pattern will move your eye around the body of a snake and visually create a sense of flow on the body of that snake. How well it's rendered, maybe it's done in a very traditional style, doesn't matter. The lines of those scales are always going to direct your eye to move in a specific direction.
Right.
Think about individual scales as like little arrows, right? I'll pull up the drawing for the piece that I did yesterday. It's a perfect example of that. If anyone here joined the live stream yesterday, thank you, by the way. If not, totally cool. I'm going to be doing plenty more of them.
Yeah.
So I got to tattoo this yesterday. It's a whole lower arm wraparound half sleeve. But just as an example, think of each individual scale as like a little arrow, right? So subconsciously, we're going to see the points of these scales, and our eye is going to follow them around. And by having obviously this with a lot more reserve as far as where our bold lines are, keeping all of these a bit thinner in line weight, it's really going to allow our eye to emphasize this, especially because, and if you look at the tattoo I did, I'm one of those people that I will follow my stencil religiously. Like I try not to vary too much from it in any way, just because I put so much effort and thought into my stencils that it's like, all right, well, if I have to modify it, I will, but otherwise I try to keep it exactly the same. Everything down to, I'm not going to bring this line all the way to connect to that one. I'm not going to bring that one over there or this one here or that one there. I'm going to leave those gaps, because that's going to create a very nice thin negative perimeter line right around the head of the snake, so that when you look at it, there's an obvious separation between those two elements. That's going to help keep this more in focus, right? And put more emphasis on that. And I did that around the jawline too, and partly around the tongue as well, to really help that come forward more so that no lines actually intersect. You can even see that I did that over here with the body, and that allows that part to come forward more, this part to come forward more, to really push that more into the foreground. While down here, this is all being, you'll notice like connecting lines. You'll notice a few line weight similarities down in this area and over in this area. You can see some very similar line weights, and that's going to push all of that onto one specific plane. By doing that, I'm creating a sense of depth without even really trying, and this is just a line drawing. So it's like I always try to maximize my visual flow and force people to look in a specific spot.
Right, and it's really nice how you have all the line weight on the snake consistent with itself, and then the flowers themselves are like a secondary almost, because it's the same line weight throughout those as well.
Correct.
So it's really cool, man. It's really nice looking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just kind of the way that I like repeating patterns, and your eye will follow those repeating patterns simply because subconsciously it's telling you to. Scales can almost act like arrows to point you in a specific spot.
Right. Yeah, the eye loves those underlying triangles, man. Those underlying like intersecting lines, like you're talking about. It's pretty freaking cool when you look at the that what is it? Would be like a deluminated kind of layer, like we're using
Right.
Procreate right now, so it'd be like that underlying layer that's there that you never really focus on, but it's under there, man, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of like little psychological like mind
Mm-hmm.
hacks that you can
Yeah.
get with art that I
Yeah.
just always absolutely love trying to incorporate.
Absolutely. Okay. So are you using like a pre-drawn golden ratio there? Like, did you kind of snap
Yeah,
that up
these
from
are just
somewhere else?
some I have a stamp set that I acquired from somewhere. It's just called Golden Ratio. I
Okay.
actually think if you do a Google search, you can find it.
Yeah.
But it's got like, composites. That's a little light. So like it's got like a head composite golden
Right.
ratio,
Killer.
which is pretty cool. It's got male face, female face, side profile face, so
Nice.
that everything's going to be in proportion. I believe this was actually set up for comics.
Yeah.
So if you're laying out a comic book page, there's your perfect golden ratio for comic book page layout.
Awesome.
Um,
Love
so I
comics.
like the triangle a lot. I think it's a little bit easier to read as far as proportions go, and it still creates the same aspect. So you can lay this right inside of a perfect rectangle, which is actually the next brush down. So I could overlap these two, and it would be the exact same spiral.
Yeah.
It's just a different way to achieve the exact same thing.
And
It's fun.
yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. I apologize about that.
Yeah, no, you're good, man.
One of the cool parts about it too is that not only is it allowing you to understand the structure a little bit better and like trying to help you create your focal points and then your secondary values and stuff like that, it also kind of helps eliminate that white space, that page, that daunting staring right back at you, like where do I start kind of page. You know what I mean? That's always
Mm-hmm.
been one of my things where I have to kind of set my mind a little bit different to be like, don't stare at the white page. Try to pay attention to the shapes alone, and that's it. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. It
Yep.
helps out a lot with that, I'm sure of it, right?
Oh,
So,
dude, yeah, it always gives you a starting point. And I'm
right.
I'm right there with you, man. It's always been a struggle. Like if you give me a blank piece of paper and a
Yeah.
pencil and say draw something, I'm like, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Where
Yeah.
all right, can I like go and have a few beers first, like and
Right,
get some
exactly.
creativity going? But
Got to loosen up here a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, but when you have a specific direction to start in and where certain elements are going to end up going, it
Mhm.
eliminates the guesswork.
Right. Killer.
You know?
It's good to know.
So that's just kind of what I like to do there. You don't necessarily have to have that. You can pick an arbitrary point. I always like to, put 2 or 3 focal points in whatever I'm sketching. So I'll do, usually one up here by the shoulder. Wrong brush. Sketchers. So I'll usually do like one up in this area. I almost always do one down here. And then I'll either try to put one offset here or offset down here in this lower third. Just because I do kind of like the interaction of having an odd number of focal points. So it's just my own personal like quirkiness. A lot of times I'll stagger them. So if I'm going here and here, I'll go down here for my last one. Or if I'm going here and here, maybe I'll throw it more towards the center and have almost like a visual line coming up. So there's a couple of different ways that you can play with it, but I usually try to keep everything, with an odd number of focal points. It's just something I found visually interesting. I think for this composition, I'm going to go with 3, and I'm going to go here, here, and here, just as like a little bit of a roadmap for where I want things to go. So now that I've got that kind of set up, I'm going to go through and start really sketching some stuff in. I always like to start sketching with red just because that's me. Get bigger. Always start bold and then drill down. So they wanted like a praying mantis on like a little bit of a cherry blossom branch with some cherry blossoms. So I'm thinking branch here, roughly, maybe having like an offshoot coming up. Maybe not so much the offshoot. So branch here, offshoot this way, because that's going to follow where I want my focal point to be. Flower. Let's do praying mantises have like a triangular shape head. Let's take perspective on that because I want that kind of looking back over its shoulder. Cool. And it's got like little arms and a stick body. So right now I'm just laying down some directional lines. I know this is going to end up going off page. I'll probably end up shrinking this down a bit more. I always draw with like whatever brush or pen or, whatever I'm doodling with. I always make sure it's super, super light at first and you can build and build and build and build until it's just right. Or I'll go through and I'll start switching up colors. For example, if I was going to start over, and I'm also a digital pack rat, so I keep every layer. Maybe I'll start sketching in yellow. That'll give me an idea. I do like the idea of having the branch here. And I do like having maybe the head here, body coming down. Leg. Looks like it's got 4 legs and then 2 arms. So let's do more of those joints. Kind of weird, like bow-legged. That would come down and come back, and then it's got like a little foot. Then this guy would come down and then sprout over. I'll probably adjust those angles. Hip, leg, hip, leg. I always like doing just like little wireframes first, but it's kind of tricky to do a wireframe if you don't know the specific anatomy of, a bug or an animal of any kind. For example, until I really brought this up, I didn't know that praying mantises had 4 legs. I thought they had like 6 and 2 front claws. So knowing the anatomy is it's pretty important in my opinion, just to get like, a structure. You don't want to give it, 6 legs and have people sit back and ask you like, well, why does that praying mantis have 6 legs? They only have 4. It's like,
Whoopsie daisy.
Whoops, should have done some homework first. These guys have, upper arms, huge forearms, and then like little hands. Maybe we'll do like upper arm, big forearm, and then their hands kind of down, like so.
Hey, Jason, I'm going to mute and stop the video for a little bit, but I'm still here, man. I got to plug this phone
Go
in.
for
So.
it, man.
All right, thanks.
Go for it. Yeah, when I started throwing around this idea with my coworker about maybe getting something together like this, it was like, whoa, that's going to be an awesome idea. And I love that kind of stuff. Very unique. It's not something that you've really seen very often. Praying mantises are great subject matter too, just because they've got a lot of very thin, tiny little components. And the person that, may or may not eventually be getting this, they don't have the biggest torso in the world. They're kind of on the thinner side. So it's like, okay, well, that does kind of make a little bit of sense. And it's really going to kind of accent their body structure as well. so long as it's at the right perspective and proportion. If I have this, maybe I'll bring this down a little bit more and then bring that back up. This is going to go off page. I could have the body twist that way. Maybe I'll have it tilt a little bit more. Maybe I will go with something more like that as a perspective of the head. Just nice and loose, just nice and rough. Nothing crazy. So that joint does not bend that way. It was wrong when I was looking at my reference. This joint would come down and then up and then fold down. So anatomy is key. And it doesn't matter if it's bug anatomy, it doesn't matter if it's human anatomy. You have to know anatomy and basic structures in order to draw anything. Basic shapes are like the key. Yeah, Fred. Absolutely, man. Dude, I've seen some of the weirdest stuff you could ever imagine seeing. I saw an angel fighting a demon, but the demon only had 3 toes and the angel only had 4 fingers. Like it was kind of yeah. But I mean, hey, client still loves it, and that's what matters. So I mean, as long as they didn't add an extra 11th finger or 11th digit anywhere, then I think they're on the right track. Why you see a lot of the great masters used to sit down and literally just study anatomy. They would go to the morgue and just pay whoever just to allow them to draw. And maybe if they're going through and doing like a dissection, or if someone had like a foot or a leg amputated, they would draw that. It's all about, can you understand the underlying shapes and forms? If you can, great. If you can't, well, then you've got a bit more work to do. Once again, my 2 cents, take it or leave it. Um, I'm just seeing the world through my own colored glasses. So if anyone has different ideas and opinions, by all means, feel free to jump in and share. Maybe I'll throw like a flower here, like a nice big cluster of cherry blossoms. Maybe over from this way, I'll bring the branch back over, once again, creating visual movement. So I'll have like maybe cherry blossom or 2 back here out of focus. Create like another little branch coming out that way. Another one kind of coming up that way, kind of following the same directional flow. And then that'll give me not a lot of decent negative space. I could even, if I wanted to, maybe throw another little branch back here, way out of focus, very light and subtle in the background. Nothing crazy, nothing, very definitive. Basically, just like a brown smudge in the background. Just because, I don't want to really put that into focus at all and have that be competing with my primary element. So from there, I'm going to go through, I'm going to switch colors, maybe switch over to red or an orange. We'll do an orange. I like orange. Orange is a fun color. So now I'm just going to go through and start refining a bit more. Once again, trying to keep everything very, very light. Got kind of like a dome that bridges the gap here. This kind of comes down. And kind of got some like mandible things down here. proportions are way off for the head, so we're going to shrink that down a tiny bit. Head compared to the arm, maybe a little smaller. Now maybe I want to have this arm coming up that way instead, but now, since I already have my wireframe, I can say, okay, I draw a lot of stuff like I map out comics. So I'm going to look at this, and if I want to have, say we want to do both arms that way, it's like, okay, if we do that for the shoulders, then I'm going to want to have this arm coming down and up, this arm coming down and up. Even though some of the reference photos that I did find do have them kind of like with their arms open, almost like they're going to want to give you a hug. Um, it's like, I'm not really trying to go that route. So I don't necessarily think they want something kind of cute and cuddly. I think they're looking for something with a bit more bite to it. So we're going to draw our shoulders there, hips. Just trying to keep everything super loose. I'll probably be working on this on and off for the next few weeks, just trying to get an idea of like, what are they looking for? What kind of a feeling do they want to have in it? How do they want it to really appeal to them? What's their vision like? And what kind of a feeling is that vision giving them? Because you can make anything look super aggressive, or you can make it look a lot more subdued and subtle. You can make a cute little praying mantis, or you can make a praying mantis that, is getting ready to bite your head off. The question is, which do you want to go through? And which do you want to portray? I think my video is like super dark for some weird reason. Hopefully if I zoom out, that'll help a little bit more. Oh, kind of get the idea. Maybe if I zoom in a little bit more, you can see a little bit better. Not so much. So I'm just blocking stuff in and doodling around. You guys don't have to draw along if you don't want to. If you've got other things that you need to be working on, by all means. This is pretty much just an open forum where we can sit and we can doodle and we can talk. It's one thing I like to do in the mornings whenever I go to the studio is just sit down and talk with some of the guys I work with and just see what's new. And, we'll all be working on something different, getting ready for the day, or, starting to doodle and map some stuff out for maybe the next tattoo or the next week. But it's just a nice little like social aspect that can really just, help you gear up for the day, or, decompress from a stressful week. It can really make the difference between your mental attitude being very positive that day or not being positive at all. And it's like, oh, well, didn't talk to anyone, don't really know what's going on. I'm just going to sit down and do my tattoo and just be done. It's like, I don't want to be that way, and I don't know a whole lot of people that want to be that way. A lot of people would prefer to have more of a positive outlook on life. Some people don't want to have a positive outlook on life for whatever reason, and that's totally fine. Um, you know, I can't see a reason to not be positive. Maybe once again, that's coming from my own pair of rose-colored glasses, but it's positivity is key. Because the more positive you are, the more enthusiastic you're going to be when you're going to be tattooing someone, and the more enthusiastic you're going to be throughout the day. And trust me, clients pick up on that enthusiasm. They always do. And it doesn't matter what kind of a tattoo you're going to be doing. It doesn't matter if it's something that you've tattooed 100,000 times. Oh, an infinity symbol? Cool. Awesome. Let's do it. I've got some great ideas for this infinity symbol. We can add all types of stuff off of it. Oh, you want to put handwriting in it? Cool. Do you have like that person's individual handwriting? If not, it's cool. It's cool. We can come up with something, but like, yeah, I'm all about it. Totally even though I might be sitting down doing the tattoo, in the back of my mind telling myself, I can't believe I'm doing another one of these. Don't get me wrong, I haven't done one of those in a very long time, but it's the hypothetical example. Um, what my subconscious might be thinking, like, I can't believe this person's actually getting this done, is irrelevant. It's what's my mental attitude like? Because if I'm going to be stoked to do that tattoo, then awesome. That's all that matters. They're going to pick up on that. They're going to acknowledge that, and they're going to absolutely love it as well. Unless they're just one of those people that's like super picky regardless. But you know, those people, I try to weed those people out if at all possible. Just because it's like no matter what you do on people that are like that, they're probably not going to be happy anyway. So it's like, why don't I just save us both the time, effort, and energy, and just say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not the guy for you. It's the same thing I do whenever I get someone that comes in asking for, say a black and gray portrait. It's like, can I do it? Yes. Will I do it? No. And the reason why isn't because I can't do it. It's because there are a lot of people out there that are way better than I am at it. And I want them to have a good tattoo, you know? Even if that means that I got to take one on the chin and not do it, that's fine. I would rather pass that up and tell them and refer them out to someone else that would do a portrait that is absolutely incredible. I would rather have them go to them and have that person make that money than me do it and have them sit back and say, well, it's nice, but it's not the best. And it's like, well, that's kind of why I told you to maybe visit this person. you know I think acknowledging your weaknesses is definitely a key thing. And I know working on portraiture and getting my portraits up to an acceptable standard is a key thing for me, and it's something that I still work on to this day. It's also one of the things that I'm the most hypercritical about. So it's it's kind of difficult to say, but being able to acknowledge that, being able to turn around and say, hey, you know what, maybe this is a little bit out of my league, maybe I'm not really ready for this quite in my stage, especially if I'm someone that's still starting out and I've only got a few, maybe like 1 or 2 years of experience under my belt coming from an apprenticeship. Maybe I'm going to turn around and say, you know what, I'm not quite at the point where I can do a sleeve yet. I'll keep you in mind, but let me introduce you to this person who's really good at doing large scale pieces and will be more than happy to take care of you. You know, they, it can make a world of difference. And people respect it. They really respect it when you can sit down and tell them, hey, you know what? This isn't really my strong suit. Could I do it? Yes, but it would be wrong of me to do it because this person's going to do it way better than I can. Acknowledging your weaknesses and your shortcomings in front of a client gives you the ultimate respect in their book. And I've heard it from more than one person in more than one occasion where, they'll turn around and tell me like, yo, thank you for being honest with me about that. Because, otherwise I would have just taken you at your word and, I probably wouldn't have been happy with it. It's something that can go a long way, is honesty. It's something that, I don't really see a whole lot of too much anymore in this world. So I always try to be honest with my clients above all else. If I don't think I'm going to do a good job, I'm not going to do it, because that's something they have to live with for the rest of their life. And they have to sit back and either kick themselves in the butt for making that kind of a decision and saying, I probably shouldn't have gone to that guy or that studio, or done this or done that, or maybe I shouldn't have gotten it that big, even though it's like, yeah, when people come in and say, hey, I want you to blast my whole side. Awesome, I'm there. Let's do it. And then you put the stencil on them and they're like, wow, that's huge. It's like, yeah, it's huge. You said you wanted your whole side done. Did you not think it was going to be big?
Or I didn't realize how long it would take.
Oh, I love that answer.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, so what are you thinking? Like one more, what are you thinking? Like 2-3 hours more? And it's like, multiply that by 10.
Yeah, exactly.
People don't realize what they're getting into. And, it's
But you know my answer to that. That's because you didn't set the proper expectations.
truth, communication.
Yeah, I know. Or
Yeah.
certainly, I'm not gonna. I will acknowledge there are clients and people that just simply won't listen, or and previously we all look at things with our own sunglasses on. But to own up, if there's a client and you have a 10 times hour difference, and maybe you're just using that as an exaggeration, but that might be an opportunity to figure out how to communicate on the front end a little bit differently. Just saying.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah. Kind of sit them down with a consult almost and like go over these realities that they might not be thinking about.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same thing with like business. Like you could tell somebody something once or twice, but that does not mean that like they understand the frame of reference of why you told them that, and why they should remember it and practice it in the future. And it's often just gently reminding people again and again, especially first timers, or not, you only get a back piece. Well, some people will get a back piece more than once, right? But you only get a back piece really once,
Yeah.
And anyways, I'm always gonna hop in there when all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, it's true, clients need help, but that's why they pay us the big bucks to help guide them through the process, and
Yeah.
like I said, while fully acknowledging there's issues, problem clients or some people that could just never be satisfied, there's always an opportunity to see if we can, communicate more effectively.
Communication really is the ultimate. To me, it's the ultimate, tool. When you can effectively communicate everything to someone before they even sit in the chair, whether it's during a consultation or whatever, you're gonna iron out all those issues. And when you set expectations, like, okay, listen, I can work at such a pace to achieve so much in one sitting, before it's just not going to be good for either one of us. When you can set that expectation and you can accurately predict, okay, well, you're looking at, probably around this many hours worth of work, to achieve a desired result. We end up running ahead of schedule. That's great. But, it's not very likely given the subject matter that you're trying to get done. I know some artists that are just kind of free form and they're like, listen, we'll book you out for three sessions at 3 hours a piece, and then we'll kind of evaluate it after the first or second session and just see how many more we need to book. Sometimes they'll turn around and say, oh yeah, you're going to need to book 3 additional sessions as well. Sometimes people are cool with that. Sometimes they're not. But a lot of people out there are willing to pay for good work, and that's ultimately what matters. Although I have been seeing a growing trend where a lot of people aren't really caring so much anymore about the quality of the work, which is sad. They're like, oh yeah, man, I got like $200. I'm trying to get a full sleeve.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, right.
I mean, that
Good luck
can't
with
be
that.
new. I mean, that's certainly not new. Is that really like, is there any more or less of that happening now? I mean,
I've been getting messages all the time for the past few years,
yeah, of course. Well, of course. Yeah.
where people just have unrealistic expectations, and they will find someone that will give them a full sleeve for $50.
I always kind of say, well, man, if you got that good of a deal, then what are you doing shopping around for anyway?
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the first mistakes you're making is kind of shopping around for price. Anyway, this is something that's permanent. It's not a pair of shoes by any means, man. It's like, and the crazy part is like some clients will in fact spend more on their shoes than they will like tattoos and stuff. So it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah,
But
those aren't the clients you're looking
no,
for anyways. You know,
no, absolutely not.
it's easy enough to, well, as Jason was saying earlier, there's other artists that would be happy to potentially talk to you about those kind of tattoos. But when you're ready, for a serious tattoo, you know where to come back to.
Exactly.
It's definitely interesting. I've been listening to a fair amount of artists on the Clubhouse, the new Clubhouse fucking social media app. I hate to be like, it's on the new Clubhouse social media. Anyways, listen to a lot of regular artists talking about valuing of work. And it's so interesting because tattooers, on one hand, you work for hire and you can command a pretty awesome rate, because it is a sacred, shamanic art. And but there's all, at some point it is like an illustrator, it is a work for hire. Like you can't necessarily just be like, how much is a back piece? $40,000. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's $40,000. We're certainly with pieces of artwork. It could be like, how much is that? It's $40,000. And it's interesting. At some point, they are going to start skinning people, and then all of a sudden, that tattoo is going to jump from a $5,000 work for hire piece of art to $100,000. And obviously they already do exist. That skin, tattooed skins do exist. And but as far as like the fine, so as far as valuing the art, it's amazing trying to figure out where the proper valuation is for a tattoo, because if it's a true fine art, then you're not billing anything by the hour, you're billing it by the value. And but it's such an odd concept to, and you can do that in smaller tattoos. Somebody walks through the door and is looking for something that's a couple hours worth of work. You can, well, that value is either $400 or $800, or whatever it might be, not based off of the hourly, but based off of the quality and the piece of the work. But when you start dealing with back pieces and whatnot, it's it seems like you ultimately have to charge by the day rates. Anyways, I forgot where I was going with that. But okay, so we have a question here. Ginger's. Let's see. I was just going to ask, wouldn't the consult be the best time to run through the process, and then again before you start on the tattoo? And yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just end my rant with earlier. Yeah, you really do need to just gently repeat yourself again and again without getting annoyed. Because if you repeat yourself again and again without being annoyed, the alternative is to not repeat yourself and to start getting annoyed, ultimately. But yeah, so I guess up to now to you guys. Ricardo, how do you deal with consulting and estimates and?
I try to break it down. I always do a consult. I found that the best thing to do is just dedicate some one-on-one time with the person, you know what I mean, and really try to hear them out. And I try to keep like a queue of the questions that they might not ask. A lot of the time is exactly how long is it going to take, or some of the other things that don't go asked are what's the comfort level, you know what I mean, like what can I bring with me to kind of help out with this situation that I'm going to be sitting here for multiples of hours each time that I come in, and I try to make them as comfortable as I can. I talk to them about bringing their own like blanket or a pillow or something like that they can bring with them. Some of those things kind of go hand in hand, I think, with the ultimate overall concept of how much time and money that they're going to be spending there. But I primarily base off of like an hourly rate. And I always tell them, we'll go off of an hourly rate, but then we'll kind of feel it out at the moment. If we're both in a groove, man, you know what I mean? Like my ultimate thing is to kind of complete this idea that you have for yourself. And the fact that I get to do it, that you want me to do it, is awesome enough. But the reality is that we do have to pay our bills and stuff like that. So I try to cut them a break. You know what I mean? Like if I'm feeling it, we're in a groove, everybody's groovy, then I'll give them like an hour or so, just kind of hanging out and tattooing. No big deal, man. If that makes any sense, if that answers your question at all too. But
Yeah, but I really like the idea that you have the set of questions that they're not ready to, they don't even know enough to ask, right? So
right.
like you're there to help kind of guide them through the process and
Yeah.
bring up some of the things that they're going to need to consider. Do you have that like written out anywhere? Like you said, you have like some notes or?
No, I don't, but I could write some down and kind of post them on my page if that helps out, or post them to this
Yeah.
this feed. That would
You
work
know,
out. That
it certainly can't hurt for us to check them out, but mostly I was just thinking about for you and your customers and your process. So
that's a good
almost
idea.
one step, maybe not even one step better, but like one step in concert is if they're walking away with a trifold of yours, after the consult that strengthens some of those points again. Well, as I was saying earlier, you could tell somebody to be well fed and you know not drink to excess the night before, but like unless you like tell them 2 or 3 times, then it's not even sinking in,
Yeah,
and so yeah, so if you have the consult and then they walk away with some of some documentation. I think we used to have like postcards and stuff like that.
yeah,
But then if you do another, and then if you have it recorded as a video, like on your website, again, the thought being that, the more times you could gently repeat the information to people, then the more the chances that it'll actually sink in.
yeah. I agree with you. And you're right, man. People do seem to respond to that kind of repetitiveness rather than like a direct kind of statement. A lot of times there's so many different things going on in that person's mind. Like, they're thinking about a lot of different concepts. Is this going to be an image that I like? Am I going to offend this person? I can't tell you how many times people have been timid to kind of say that they might not appreciate certain parts of a drawing that you've done. You know what I mean? And I always try to comfort them in that area too. Like, don't hesitate to kind of, let's walk through this together. You know what I mean? Like, this is a journey that we're both kind of going on together, so we have to kind of both be comfortable in order for it to be the best outcome that both of us want for this tattoo. So, but I think what I'm saying is I agree with you as far as like how to make them comfortable, how to get them to listen to what it is that you're trying to share with them as well.
Awesome. Before we bring in Patrick officially, Fred, I think he's one of the apprentices in the chat room. He says he got a sleeve for free, and it looks like it. He'd pay anything to get a good sleeve. Just so the laser, exists. You don't want to like just wantonly laser, a full sleeve, because it will, after 4 to 7 sessions, could. The integrity of the skin could be lessened a bit if you're over lasering like really thick stuff. But on the other hand, if you work with a really awesome artist, you can fix anything. It just takes fucking time, money, and pain.
That it does. That it does. And Patrick's here. Hey, Pat.
Hi, Jason. How are you doing?
Doing all right. How about yourself, sir?
No, yeah, no, not so bad actually. I struggled for a bit with the bobcat skull and the shadows and what have you. I found it hard to try and get a composition that would allow the structure of the leaf, the yucca, to like cast a shadow over the skull. Like it's got to be above it, isn't it? And I struggle for a bit, but I think I've got something that is going to look a little like that. So
Nice.
the skull there, and then I tell you what I did. I built up. Yeah, look at that. I couldn't figure it out, so I ended up like getting an aloe instead of a yucca, and then carving up a turnip or a swede and putting that on some their egg crates, like wrapped in cloth. I thought, right, okay, I'll just do that, and then at least I've got a reference there for like where the shadow falls. Yeah, so that's my skull.
Yeah,
The
I'm going to be
aloe
working on
is a
mine later
yucca.
today for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, cast shadows are always tricky. Judging distance and how far away the overlapping element is, it's pretty tricky.
Yeah. I figure that as few as possible is what I'm sort of going for. And so if I can make the important ones as big as possible, then anyway, hopefully that'll work out. Yeah. What is that you're working on, Jason?
Coming up with a concept sketch for someone that I work with. We were tossing around the idea the other day of doing a praying mantis back piece.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of, thought it would be fun to sit down and sketch a little bit.
Yeah.
And just kind of, start tooling around some ideas during today's drawing session. It's
You'll be happy to know I completely informally texted it over with Adrian Lee a little bit about some large scale stuff and activities, and
really
he didn't tell me to go to hell. All these things take long periods of time, and who the fuck knows until something's scheduled. It's but
right.
he didn't say no, and I'm trying to figure out a good. Again, we can't. I want to do it right. And so
Right.
part of it's like, if we're going to start doing like a real back piece project, like a reinventing back piece project, we can't just do like a drawing group where we're mapping out, thumbnails and back pieces. We should like get a 2-year long plan to, not only, draw a bunch, but to, ideally attract the clients, and, really just do a dedicated, one day a month, so that you're either attracting a back piece client or working on a back piece client. And we'll see.
That would be awesome, man. I'd love to just sit down and pick his brain about like elements and focus, looking at the stuff that he's done. It's, mind blowing stuff. And just how he creates his compositions and what does he really try to focus on the most with it. It's every artist out there has got a different primary focus whenever they design anything, whether it's lines, whether it's value, texture, color palettes, so figuring out like, what does he really look for? Is he looking for unique perspectives, unique composition? Is he just looking to portray a specific idea, in a very unique way? Look at that, dude. That's insane. That's absolutely magical.
When I met him for the first time out in California, I forgot even why or how, but within fucking 2 or 3 minutes, I was just like, holy shit, this guy is fucking like on another level intellectually. And then I thought to myself, you fucking asshole, of course he is. You know his work product. You've seen both what comes out of his brain and onto people's bodies, and like all of his books and all of the publications, and just all of the stuff that he does is it's just out of control good.
Yeah. So update. I've been in touch with, I think I mentioned this to you before, but I've been in touch with Phibbs. He is definitely all in on it. He's just trying to figure out scheduling.
Awesome.
So we're definitely going to be getting him in at one point, as far as like a Q&A and a live interview. And
Is it this one?
yeah.
Yep.
So he has officially agreed to come in and, talk with us for about a few things, about his process, about, what does he try to focus on. I know he does a lot of freehand work, especially with his peonies and his chrysanthemums. I call him the chrysanthemum king because that guy he doesn't even have to think about it. He just draws them and they're unbelievable. I did see a little bit more progress done on a collaborative back piece. He's actually doing with Bill Canales from San Diego as well, which is
Bill's
absolutely
great.
Incredible. He's starting to work on
This
a
is
whole
not
bunch
the
of full
collab, just
body
officially.
suits.
Is this it?
No, it was a big
this
dragon.
is just a
I saw
sick-ass
it in his
tattoo.
story. Yeah. Yeah, he's starting to work on a lot of huge full body suits.
Scene
And
360.
just
This is a pretty sick page too. just while we're surfing here.
Whoa.
She Adriana posts up pretty frequently in the Reinventing community here, just because she's doing some amazing research. She's a writer, so she's been doing interviews and making books, and
That's gorgeous.
yeah, pretty much every tattoo she posts is fucking sick. Yeah, and it's not just straight up like Illustrator or realism. There's like a lot of just black work and is this Gordo? Is
Yeah,
that who this is? Yeah, Gordo.
very diverse.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
So clean.
Gordo. He did a collaboration with Marcus Leonard, I think, right? I know that he does guest spots there.
Man, that type of calligraphy just blows my mind. It's
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
super organic, and it's just like, how did you do that?
Yeah, it's gonna. Look at that.
Oh man, that's incredible.
That's unbelievable.
And there's that repetitive pattern and those intersecting lines that you're talking about too, you know. So yeah.
That's nuts.
It looks like he like takes like a projector and just casts it on the body, you know what I mean?
Right?
Sick. It's less and less. This work used to like really piss off like some tattooers, or this is. I think we're beyond that now, though. Luckily.
Yeah.
Oh.
Look at that.
That's incredible.
Oh.
This is a collab with, I don't know who this guy is or lady is, but let's see. Going down a rabbit hole here.
So easy to
I
do.
know, right? Welcome to the life of Instagram, right?
Yeah. That's radical.
Where you can spend 9 years and never see the same image twice.
Yeah.
Where they say the internet never ends.
Very true. Very true.
Ginger, yes, you did hear that right. Fibs will be on one of Jason's shows in the future, just figuring out the dates and times.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for for him to get back to me as far as like a schedule goes and when he can squeeze us in. Having, as I mentioned before, he's just such a nice guy. Like,
hey, sorry, real quick.
Amazing.
What's everybody's timing looking like? I need probably 10 to 15 minutes away from the computer. So if everyone's down for another 15 minutes, then I'll just tune in on my phone.
Yeah, I can do 15 minutes.
Perfect.
And then I probably got to get outside and start shoveling because I think the snow stopped falling. We got like
nice.
5 inches today, so it's going to be.
You'll be a couple hours behind in front of us on that because I think the storm's coming from you to us. But cool. I'm gonna beam in on my phone, and I'll be back. I'll be back on the phone in like 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll talk soon.
Go for it. Yeah, the amount of incredible work that's being pumped out in this day and age is it's mind-blowing. You get, and it's coming from all corners of the world, all walks of life. It's just absolutely incredible to me just to see how far everything has come, even in the past 10 years. It's, I don't know, it blows my mind just to know that I'm a part of a community that's doing such incredible stuff. And I think Gabe touched on it a little bit earlier where, he said something about, people that were collecting skins and stuff like that. That's actually something that I'm starting to look into as I get more and more substantially covered is where can I donate my skin once my body is officially covered and I've got a full suit, all the little gaps are done and all that stuff. Where could I possibly go to donate that after I pass away? Assuming it's still intact and, nothing happens to it over the many years, what could I do to preserve that for longevity's sake? So that I can turn around and say to or like leave a letter to, my young cousins, because I don't have any kids. Oh, hey, by the way, your great uncle or whoever, they might not still be around, but you can go and see the artwork that they've collected over the years over at this place. Ginger just commented savemyink.com. I'll have to look into that one. I was actually looking at the Muter Museum in Philadelphia. So I'm actually very fortunate to be around one of the leading medical oddity museums in the world. And that is the Muter Museum in Philadelphia. It's hosted by if I'm correct, I may be wrong, but I believe it's the College of Health Physicians of Philadelphia's Muter Museum. But it's a museum of medical oddities, and they actually already have quite a substantial collection of tattooed skins. Some are historic in nature, dating from, the late 1800s. Some are a bit more modern, um, but they have quite a substantial collection already. And, to be able to add to that collection and have them curate it and display it, I think would just be an absolute honor. Um, it's a way to really get a much larger return on my investment for the number of tattoos that I've collected so far. Who's to say what's going to happen? I would like for that to happen, but it's a matter of getting everything in place, getting the proper legal paperwork together, and all that stuff. Which, according to the curator that I talked to so far, is the big part of it is, getting that put in a living will, which means hiring a lawyer, which means, all that stuff. Not that I don't already know quite a few lawyers, but, finding one that's willing to back me on it and keep track of the documentation, et cetera, et cetera. Once again, it's all based on whether or not, they would even want me to do that. I wouldn't want any kind of like compensation for it or anything. It's just, I've spent all of this time and effort and money getting tattooed. I want other people to enjoy it as well, so that people could always look around and be like, oh man, that's absolutely sick. Like, that's amazing. Maybe even have them mounted on like a wax replica of myself. Who knows?
That'd be incredible.
Right?
That'd be pretty incredible. Yeah.
But you see that quite often, and there's actually a tattoo museum in Japan that has a lot of already. Hold on, Ginger just made a comment. I want to go to the Muter Museum. There's one in Philly. Yes, there is. Is it big? Physically, it's not that big, but they have figured out a way to cram a ton of stuff into a very, very small area.
Yeah, and like experience-wise, it's fucking deep. Like I left that, like, the Dolly Museum is fucking impressive, and the size of the paintings definitely leave an impact. But when you leave the Muter Museum, you're like, I'm alive, I'm
Wow.
breathing. Like,
Right?
this is the impact is, I don't have a lobotomy.
Yeah.
That fucking lobotomy exhibit really changed me. Like, just the Muter Museum is definitely a place where you really need to go, and it is nuts. It's not just simple like a Ripley's Believe It or Not kind of oddities museum. It's like fucking serious medical conditions from people. It's crazy.
They have preserved skeletons of the tallest recorded human that ever lived, right next to the shortest human that has ever lived. It's just insane. They have a wall of nothing but skulls
Wow, that's
from
incredible.
different
All
parts of the
insane.
world. And what you see is only a small fraction of what their collection actually is. It's mind blowing what they've been able to collect over the years. And they have everything documented with the person's name or how they died, what they died from, what area of the world that skull came from. It's just unbelievable. They have bound feet. So for a very long time in, I believe it was Japan, they used to practice what was known as foot binding to keep the feet on women much, much smaller, because that was thought to be a very desirable trait. So they actually have like severed, preserved human
Ugh.
feet that had gone through foot binding. They have elongated skulls from skull stretching and skull forming in different parts of the world. They have drawers, and I kid you not here, pull out drawers that you can look at of objects that people have swallowed. I'm not even kidding.
Incredible.
And you would think, okay, what, like a couple of coins or something? No, like a pile of rusty nails,
What?
right? Yeah, no lie. It's they've got some of the most incredible collections of medical oddities you can ever imagine.
Wow.
They've got, wax replicas of people that have had very rare genetic diseases, like the human unicorn, which is actually a type of genetic malformation of a bone growth that actually creates a protrusion on the front of the forehead of the skull and creates almost a horn shaped growth.
We we definitely got to
It's
do a reinventing field trip.
that would be amazing.
Oh yeah.
In fact, if we let them know ahead of time, we may be able to even get like a guest speaker to go there and speak.
Mhm.
Maybe someone on
Um,
tattoos.
yeah, exactly. Dr. Gemma Angel went there and she did a talk on tattoos before, and that was fascinating. Um, I think if we really wanted to do it right, we could coordinate with them and get an entire event set up. We could
Yeah.
they even have like a small gallery area for art to be hung up, et cetera, et cetera. So we could even go and display, paintings and works of art. And, obviously it would take a lot of coordination and a lot of timing and communication back and forth, but they're usually pretty open with a lot of things. They did a talk on what is it, Alice in Wonderland syndrome, which a doctor at the University of Pennsylvania is actually in the process of documenting and writing papers on and diagnosing.
What do
Where
you
people,
mean?
yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, wait, what? That's a
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
It is.
So go
Um,
on, go on.
it's just people's visual distortions of reality are
Ah.
happening without any kind of exit or outside influence. So think of like just standing there, and if you've read Alice in Wonderland, the book, you'll you'll read excerpts of people whose head starts to grow and become, enormous in size and things of that nature. That could be known as a hallucination. People are seeing stuff like that on a regular basis, even though, you know, maybe they're in denial about it. Apparently, a lot of people grow out of it at a very young age. But there's been several articles written about it that I'm more than happy to send out in chats
Yeah,
if
man.
anyone is interested.
Oh,
But
you can
it's
send
it's
that my way for
absolutely
sure.
fascinating.
That's incredible.
But they do some weird lectures and talks about different types of weird subjects. They had one on poisons. That was interesting. I try to get out there every chance I can just to attend a talk on different things. Sometimes it'll draw a standing room only crowd, like the tattoo event that I went to was standing room only, and there was an unbelievable amount of tattooers that were in attendance in Philadelphia just for that talk. Um, and I mean, they went through everything from the pathology of tattooing. They had Miss Ann Jemmy, who I don't know if anyone here is familiar with her. She's a medical examiner that actually has a very large following on Instagram for her medical findings and her medical diagnoses. And she is tattooed from the edge of her jawline all the way down to the tips of her toes. Full bodysuit, you know, absolutely gorgeous tattoos. And she's one of the leading forensic medical examiners. And I believe she used to be in the Philadelphia area, but I could be wrong. But still, fascinating human being. And she went into the pathology of tattooing and, you know, some of the medical processes involved and what happens with that and removal and how it affects different health aspects. It's fascinating. So they get really in depth sometimes, and they are definitely
Well,
open for different topics.
yeah, we'll probably start off with a just a field trip, but then obviously we love setting up fucking real events, and we'll be taking a couple different reinventing pilgrimages each year, for people that can get there. Like I said, the Dolly Museum will be another one. Have to hit something out West Coast, probably redwoods or something. Some cool stuff for everyone to get together and do.
Absolutely.
Putting together the Brussels, the Reinventing Brussels event schedule, and we basically have 2 things to do every day, and like a meet and greet kind of a thing on the first, the morning of the first day, and a couple seminars. I'll do a seminar, I think, unconfirmed, but most likely would have. I've been talking to, and hopefully we'll get Nick Baxter and Ivana to do seminars and do like a paint jam and beam in with people, so people that aren't at the convention can beam in and do like I said, do like the paint art jam kind of thing. And so November, so it's like far enough. Well, I'm also, if anybody wants to pencil in their calendars, thinking about something at Jiminy Peak in October, 3rd week of October from here on out. And this year it's probably just going to be probably just like a BYOB, bring your own brain kind of a thing. Like show up, anybody want, it's we can't really I'm not going to set an event that's like crazy with booths and shit right now. But we could set some dates and be like, people want to show up and contribute to if people just want to show up and talk tattoos with some people at a fucking tattoo convention like setting, this October we'll try to do something limited.
That'd be killer.
I'm all about it, man.
For next year, 2022. That's next year, right? 2022, October 2022 on out. We'll do a yearly show at Jimmy Peak, or at least for a couple of years, and then we won't move it around again. But very excited to kind of, and then we also actually have in July 8, 9, 10, I think it is, or I don't know, it's like the second weekend of July. Guy's going to be co-producing a show with me and another fella, and we're going to. It's in Chicago area, so that'll be another pretty sick show. Rob has got the local skinny there, but it's like an hour from the airport, I think, in the Chicago area. But that's all 2022 is kind of going to be the year we do real shows again.
Yeah, I think that's the way that most people are kind of going with it.
Yeah, I mean, there are shows that are going. There's a show going on this weekend in Texas right now.
I mean, hey, more power to them. I think I'm going to give it another few months before I get involved in anything like that. But
yeah, I got to get myself vaccinated or get the bug before. My family, my wife teaches, and I don't need to see any. Like, I love throwing big parties and conventions and seeing people and doing the whole 9 yards. But I don't mind hanging out in the woods for as long as I need to. For as long, I can just stay in the woods. I'm also lucky to, have a nice spot and can beam in with people every day. So, like, I haven't stopped interacting with people any. So,
good for you.
Very lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, they shut us down in March, the end of March up here in Illinois. I think it was just all over the country, wasn't it? Around the same time.
Yeah, for like 3 months, maybe everyone kind of got to shut down. And then for the most part, it seems like in America, at least everyone opened back up. Maybe California got the shit end of the stick on that. And
yeah.
England got fucked. I mean, the thing that's fucking crazy is like the way that they play politics with it. You know, I'm all for a very strong government response where they fucking just pay everybody to stay the fuck home. You know,
Yeah.
when you start playing with like, you know, these people could be open and these people can't, it's just like, whoa, hey, you know, that's where all of a sudden tattooing is getting the shit in the stick again. You know, people just don't care. And, you know, you might only see two people, you know, in a day. And if you keep that under 2 hours or whatever, like you could tattoo safely in these conditions, it seems. And certainly, you know, more safely than some of the other places that are open. And it just gets crazy. Anyways, yeah. So it was like 2 or 3 months. But the thing is with tattooing is that the clients didn't go away. They just didn't, you know. Some of the clients that are suffering, you know, aren't going to be able to get tattooed, but the rest of them will just fill in the spots. So for lucky for tattooers, it seems, you know, the demand hasn't gone away any.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many clients I had calling me or texting me and just, you know, saying, hey man, how about we just do a couple of hours? We'll just keep it kind of quiet. I'm like, man, I'm doing my best just to play it as safe as I can right now. Like, let's just hold out and like, let's, you know, steady the storm, man. And we'll get back to you. No problem. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I mean, if you're, this is where I guess in some of the other places, this is where you really get to see if you have, you know, enough other art and or shit going on to weather a storm like this.
yes.
Yeah. And often I mean, I suppose in some ways it should work the other way around. Like your artwork should be so awesome that people want to buy it in like in other ways, be it, you know, on original art or prints or shirts or whatever, so that, you know that, you know, or so then the natural forces then are like, okay, well, not only do people want to buy it to hang, but they're going to want it on their bodies for the rest of their lives.
Right.
But obviously, often it works the other way around, where there's a fucking, you know, we might be 15 years old and fucking stick and poking our friends to say fuck you to our parents, which is, you know, somewhat, you know, I'm not trying to, not any, it's definitely not clearly as artistic, you know, but still, you know, part of the tattooing story of many people that's not illegitimate. It's perfectly fine to fucking fuck up your friends and yourself, I guess, if that's what you want to do.
That's your right.
I got tattooed by a guy in San Diego that was telling me a story about him and his friend that used to get together and would tattoo each other with the most random objects. Apparently, he ended up tattooing his friend with a shark tooth one night. And his friend took a piece of broken glass from a whiskey bottle they had been drinking out of and tattooed him with it. Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Did he happen to mention what type of drugs they were on at the time?
He did say that between the two of them, they had at least one full bottle of Jack Daniels, and I think they had killed another bottle of something else as well.
Oh, that's
And
incredible.
he didn't go into specifics on other types of illicit drugs, but
That's incredible, man.
I was like, well, that's one hell of a story.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I just don't think you can get away with that with me, because I would not appreciate that.
Yeah, you know, there's a good friend. I went on tour with a couple bands. One of my best friends at the time, and we were down in Atlanta. Dottie's fucking the Dottie had died and left. You know, so the bar in a pretty shoddy neighborhood ended up in the hands of her son, who had she had forbidden this son from going into the bar because he was a drunk that would, you know, just would give all his friends the shit for free. Well, now she's dead, so the bar, you know, when we ended up there, was like literally like 3 months into like fucking, you know, the son fucking running this place into the ground just by giving everyone full reign, you know, like customers going behind the bar and fucking, you know, tapping their own fucking beers and shit. And they played what I thought was the fucking best show that I'd ever heard them possibly play. It was unfucking believable how awesome they were. It was like quintessential rock and roll. And my buddy Bao taped everything. And he was the bass player. I was like the computer. I did computer stuff for him. I don't do any music-y stuff. But anyways, years later, he finally got that tape out and was playing the tape. And he told me, because he knew that I wanted to hear it someday. And I was like, "You fucking played it?" He's like, "Yeah, I played it, and no one will ever hear that show ever again." And it was, you know, it felt so good at the time. It was so amazing, but it was such a shit show that he wouldn't let anybody ever listen to the recording. And so I suppose in some ways that's part of the magic of the tattoo process, is that if the end result of a bad of a night drinking with a rock and roll show is that you think it's the best thing since sliced bread, except for it sucked. With a tattoo, on the other hand, well, I guess that's part of the beauty of it, is that you get to be reminded of that, of that for till you get it lasered off and covered up, or you keep it, I guess, right?
Well, I think a lot of it also comes down to, why are you going to get the tattoo? If you're going for the experience of it, there was a whole thing going on in Italy with the Brutal Black Project.
Oh God, yeah.
I know you've seen the YouTube clips on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Where that's more about the experience than it
Sure.
is about the actual work that's being done.
Absolutely.
So I think it also depends on what your initial goal is when getting that tattoo.
Absolutely. No, and I suppose the it feels like the sweet spot, is when there's a person who's going through a rite of passage that understands art, to enough of a degree not to make horrible, to break principal art rules, that do exist, matched with an artist, who's into the collaboration and loves to help people process through life changes. And again, it's weird because, obviously, as we were saying, sometimes you have peers that are doing this, you're not always getting Guy Aitchison's wise words of wisdom, to help you through whatever it is that you're going through when you're getting tattooed by people. But that is, that part of it is, a real sweet spot where, like I was saying, it's not clearly always like that, where the wise old, sage is imparting wisdom through the course of a fantastic tattoo that's going to be memorable both through the experience and through the looking at the tattoo every day and the reaction that everybody gives because of the said tattoo. But I don't know. That's where I like. That is a sweet spot of. I don't even know what set me off on that. But this is all looking pretty cool. I can't wait to get back into highlight people. I wonder if I could do that here. No. Oh, maybe. No, I need to get better at Zoom.
Yeah, I just started using it this year since all this stuff has been going on.
Yeah, I was Skype for a while. I mean, I was Skype up until now, but and other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
We've been streaming out fucking forever. Yeah. I just posted up on the Facebook a collaboration that Guy and Jeff Gogwe were doing that we streamed out probably like 7 years ago. And
yeah, the hand one, right?
We did the hand one. That was a seminar. This one, this was a collaboration. So this wasn't Jeff tattooing Guy. This one was Jeff and Guy tattooing a client. Oh shit, is his name Brian? I re-met the guy like 3 times. Every time I'm like, man, you do awesome work. You're great. You're awesome. He's like, we met like 3 times, dude. I'm the one that got the collaboration from Guy. And I was like, oh, motherfucker. Okay, right. That's how I think I remember you. But
I knew that. I just wanted to see if you remembered that.
If you remember, yeah, exactly.
I've gotten past the point where I can't even. I've tried like 3 or 4 tactics, and generally at this point, I'm like, if I try not to be an asshole, then even if I forget, maybe I don't know. I just try not to be an asshole as much as I can not be an asshole.
That's it's kind of a good mantra, man. I've always joked around about that. Like I go through life trying to be as little of an asshole to each person that I meet as possible, because no matter what, you're gonna meet somebody that might think of you differently than what you tried to fucking behave as. So.
Oh, I've got a whole seminar on that. I've got millions of dollars of lessons in that. Yeah, it's that comes into a real effect when you start dealing with like hundreds of thousands of people and millions of dollars. It's like all of a sudden, you might be like, I don't really want to deal with, certain segments of life. I just want to be a, artsy businessy guy. But then all of a sudden shit gets really real and you're like, whoa, okay. I guess, the people's perceptions can get out of fucking whack real quick if you're not on it. And it was, not to bring, I'm not bringing this in for the politics of it. I'm bringing this in for the example of like public relations damage control. And the lesson was the difference between Hillary's emails dogging her fucking forever, still probably it seems, and then Obama's, there was that crazy pastor or the crazy religious guy that he was involved with. And it was a really clear just breakdown of how both of them dealt with the different, how they dealt with them differently. And it was like, oh shit, okay. Mostly to your point, like you're always going to have people that, don't like you or you're not in alignment with, which is okay. There's a fucking crazy amount of people in the world. We don't all have to get along. We could all play in different circles for sure.
Yeah.
But like I had a guy fucking show up on Christmas Eve so I could take his guns away. I don't really want to die for what I believe in. I definitely don't want to die for being a communist. Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's that's where it starts to get crazy. It's like, wait, like I don't really actually give a fuck what you think about me, but like I at least want it to be accurate. And if you hate me, like hate me for things that are accurate. Don't hate me for shit I didn't do or for things that are inaccurate and
Yes, it's true, man. It's true. I think I know where you're going with that. And I understand completely. Like if this is going to be the last thing that I do, at least understand where I was coming from.
Right. Like that guy in particular literally called me a communist and I was like, dude, I'm an international business. And I have friends like artists who grew up and are communists and they didn't like that breadline shit. No, like that's not what we're, no one's advocating for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So
I did go ahead.
Yeah. No. On to you. And then after you should talk about some tattoo conventions that you've hit up in the past.
I've done a couple down in Austin that were pretty fun. This is years ago. I haven't done too many, to be honest with you. I've done probably a handful. I did the tattoo gathering with Guy Atchison out in like Rockford area a while back. Jeff Gogoi was there, cool. And I think what's his name, Boris was there that year, I think too, and Bob Tyrell.
Oh, the worldwide tattoo conference.
Yeah, that was pretty
worldwide
fun deal, man.
Conference?
Yeah,
worldwide.
That's it.
Yeah, WWTC.
Yep, that was a good time.
Dude, Boris is fucking so good.
Dude, he's amazing. It's amazing. The things that he was talking about were just incredible, blowing my mind.
Yeah, and looking at his work on those massive screens was something that hit me. Like, walk around, all of a sudden I'm looking up and I'm seeing this fucking amazing tattoo projected, massive.
Yeah.
That was fun. Okay, I remember that year. That was a while ago. It was like 6 or 7 years ago.
It's quite a while ago, man. I probably ran into you and maybe even talked to you. I don't know, but and then awesome. I did a painting class with Jeff Gogoi out at his studio in Oregon. That was pretty fucking fun too.
Man, he's so fucking sick. People. If people are gonna like role model people, he's a good one to kind of. I mean, everyone's has to take. Pieces, parts. No one's perfect, right? But Jeff's right. Definitely got a good attitude and mostly of self-reflection. To always make sure that you're checking in. And I miss going out there. I'll make it back out there at some point, but it's been a while.
Yeah, man. It was always refreshing, to go to stuff like that. I like tattoo conventions. But the first couple actually that I had attended, it was still a very kind of real cliquey kind of environment, man. If you didn't tattoo a certain way or if you didn't think a certain way or dress a certain way, even, it was kind of like, well, we're not even going to talk to you. You know what I mean? So it's always been refreshing to kind of go to these other events that were more focused on, conceptualizing like your thoughts to kind of help hone in on your business and your direction and art and stuff like that. You know what I mean? To talk to people with the like kind of mind that you were feeling, you know what I mean? And then kind of vibe with it, man. It was really awesome. So I appreciate you guys putting stuff like that on and doing this social media platform. It's incredible, dude. It's awesome.
Cheers. Guys got a really awesome vision. And I'm definitely, ecstatic to be able to help him kind of bring a lot of this shit to life. Sometimes I have my own, I do have my own flavor, and things like Paradise are mine with crossover with Guy's help, tremendous amount of help. And again, ultimately he's just really good at staying focused, and being like, he attracted so much fucking drama in the beginning that he just got used to being like, I'm going to focus on my fucking family. I'm going to focus on my art. And, you know, I do have time to do other business, but not like enough to take over either of the other two spaces in his life, it seems. Right? I mean, he speaks for himself. Everyone can, there's hours of him talking about it.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it's real good to combine forces for these live events where, yeah, you know, it really is about, you know, sharing positive, inspirational stories, you know, and, you know, people that bring drama, you know, we really do try to, you know, at this point, you know, at the conventions, the drama leaves before it really even gets too much. The culture of people that are coming, if somebody's getting too drunk and getting crazy, the rest of the tattoo shop's like, get the fuck out of here, get off the
Right.
mountain.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know,
Listen, I
you
already
know,
apologized for that, Gabe.
well, you know, you know, apologies are always accepted, but just don't do it again is the key, right? It's you know, I've gotten to the point where I probably should have gotten the boot out of a place, but you know, yeah, it's amazing actually to watch tattoo. You know, sometimes the tattoo guys they'll tell me, they're like, hey, so and so, we apologize for so and so or such and such. You know, we already got him off the mountain, and I'm like, man, the lesson here is don't tell me. I would never have known. You know, I don't. You know, I didn't know anybody got too drunk. I don't. And again, you know, that's the venue. Like, I appreciate the fact that, you know, people are really there to focus on, you know, learning and sharing. And, you know, and while they're there to have a good time, you know, the focus isn't on the scene. I mean, and there is a scene. It's, you know, it's impossible to get, you know, 1,000 people together where there aren't a couple different groups or waves or whatever. And
Right.
not everyone can get along, and that's amazing being in the middle of it all. But on the other hand, if you know, the mission is again to help inspire each other to do better, be more, you know, positive and leave a positive mark in the world. So if everyone just kind of stays focused on that, then the magic just kind of happens, you know, regardless of any one person or, you know, regardless of me. You know, I get everybody together and then let it happen. And it's because of people like you hitting there that, hey, Jake.
What's up, guys? How are y'all?
Oh, yo,
How's it
Jake.
going, man?
I just happened to pick my phone up and saw you guys were streaming, and I was like, man, I'm gonna jump in and see what you guys are working on.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Just working on a praying mantis back piece concept, doing out some thumbnails. You know, just sketching, doodling.
Sweet.
Just trying to get an idea of, you know, structure, flow. You know, what kind of a perspective do I want it to be at? How do I want the arms to be? You know, it's going to be sitting on like a cherry blossom branch with some cherry blossoms. You know, how do I want to develop the idea, and what kind of shapes and flow do I want it to have? Yeah. And Ricardo jumped on, and his piece is coming through great.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. It looks awesome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
See if I can get a little bit closer in here.
Yeah, I can see it super clearly. It looks great.
Awesome.
So are you guys just both happen to be working on the same type of back piece, or is it like an assignment?
No, it's just I show up and I just kind of do a free form like drawing thing. If people want to jump in,
but you guys knew in advance.
It's nothing really too structured, just kind of discussion oriented.
Well, Jason, you knew in advance because you're doing this for a possible back piece. Ricardo, you just started because you saw what was going on, right?
Yeah, I kind of jumped in. You know, like I said, I'd really like hanging out with people, man, and then getting to know their perspective, like we were talking about earlier, you know, just how you approach it and kind of take the same idea. And then, you know, by the end product, we kind of share pointers and just look at each other's art and think about some of the things that you could have done differently, or maybe applied a little bit differently in certain places, you know, or even getting some constructive criticism about like shading and lining and things like that, you know. So always room for growth, man.
Always.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Gabe, I was thinking, I don't know why, but for some reason, my login on the desktop or my Mac doesn't work. It just goes back to the login page each time. It's the same login that I use for Reinventing for the app, but for whatever reason, that login, it doesn't tell me it's invalid. It just goes back to a blank login screen each time. So that's why I've had to ask you to send me the Zoom link, because if I go to my phone. I was gonna say, if it's cool, if you guys are gonna go for a few more minutes, I might try to log in on my desktop and use. Jason, you weren't here for my last week's, but I tried to use Minicam, and man, it just got like it froze up on me so bad. I was thinking about maybe doing a quick test with OBS to see how it would work. If you guys are going to be on for a few more minutes and don't mind me.
I got time.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Gabe, do you mind emailing me the link to this Zoom call? Because I can't figure out how to pull it.
I'll do that. The other thing you could try is maybe clearing the cookies for that domain.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll shoot you over an email with the Zoom link right now.
Okay, sweet. Thanks. I'm going to jump off and I'll try to get back on through the laptop and see if I have any better luck with OBS than Manicam. So
sweet. And while you do that, maybe Jason, you want to plug Fireside?
Yeah, man. So Fireside Tattoo Network on YouTube, and they've got a podcast. I listen to it all the time. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've listened to every episode and every podcast they've produced. Super insightful. And they interview guys that do all different styles, all different types of techniques. You've got guys like Rich Wren, who's amazing at, neo-trad kind of tattoos. Everyone from Fibs, Rich Wren, a whole bunch of other just amazing artists. And they're all approaching it from a very fine art perspective. It's enlightening just to go through and just click through and watch a few videos. Totally insightful, totally enlightening. They do a Monday morning drawing group at 9 a.m. East Coast time every Monday. And it's something that you'll usually find me at. Last Monday, I was actually out shoveling snow. I'm going to try to get that done tonight so that way I don't have to do it again tomorrow morning. So I can actually jump in again. But yeah, totally insightful. Feel free to join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. For another live drawing group. It's a good way to get your week started. Good way to get your creative juices flowing for the week.
Bright and early.
Yeah.
So the other Fireside interviews, there's Jesse Smith has a pretty awesome one. Rember has a fucking killer one for any tattoo shop owner. Both of those guys have really awesome tattoo shops. They're artists, very, very driven artists, but also, very responsible and clever with their business. And both of those interviews with Jake are pretty sick. And because we're traveling and everything, and we did them, check out the Venetian Tattoo Gathering series. It's we gotta get everybody excited to go back there someday so we could do it again.
Yeah, they've
Speaking
got
of
2
events.
episodes. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying. Speaking of doing cool events where we're bringing the right people together in awesome places, the Venice is fucking one of the best places in the world.
Oh, Venice, love Venice. But 2 of my favorite episodes on Fireside, if anyone's ever interested, things that I listened to and watched that just kind of blew my mind. Are the one is episode 230, The Fine Art of Tattooing with James Hall. Absolutely mind-blowing perspective on things. Really like, what they got into in it. I'm not going to go into what it covers just because you guys should probably go out and watch it yourselves. There's one, Advanced Sleeve Design with Andy Chambers, which was absolutely, once again, mind-altering, life-changing, really makes you look at, your compositional elements in a different way based on where is the location of it and how are people going to be viewing that area of the body. I think about it like this. You're not going to have something on the outside of your calf, right? Which people are going to naturally have to be looking down at. You don't want something to be facing downward as well, right? Try to have it face upward to give it a little bit of a different perspective and connect with the viewer of that tattoo a bit more. Little things like that just make you think of placement and perspective in a completely different way. Hey, Matt. Might hop on if you're going much longer. Don't know how much longer, but yeah, feel free to hop on.
Yeah, we can keep it going.
Yeah, the only other things I have to do today are shovel snow, do laundry, and work on the assignment from last Monday. So, if I can push that off a little bit longer, I'm more than happy to.
In that case, I think it's time to get a beer. I'll be right back.
Right?
Perfect. I was
Hey,
just thinking I have one beer in the fridge.
I'll be right back.
All right.
Hey, Jake.
It's
See here.
the
Hey,
bandwidth,
what's up?
man.
Yeah, I'm still jerking around, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey. I wonder, can you hear me okay? And it's just the video that's the problem?
I hear you fine. Yeah, you look
Okay.
great too.
Cool. Yeah, you know what? I wonder, because I've got this, my camera is recording in 4K. I wonder if I dropped it down
Yeah.
with a signal
a shot.
coming in. Yeah, let me
Drop
try
the
that.
resolution and drop the frame rate, and that'll really help a lot.
Okay, but I won't lose a lot of clarity, I guess. It'll still have the same overall
Dude,
look.
you've got like so
Right.
much fucking clarity.
Right. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to try that. I'm going to stop the video for a second.
Good work.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. We do have an after hours group in the app. We're trying to figure out what to do with drunk critique. I'm trying to figure out what to do with drunk critique. It could take over really quick. And
Yeah.
the last one was 9 hours, and I didn't realize exactly. I mean, my wife let me know pretty how drastic of a craziness that was, but I didn't really settle in for myself until like 2 months later. I'm like, okay, it's about time to schedule a drunk critique, but I don't really even have the incentive to, I got to figure this out. But they are a lot of fun. We got to get a drunk critique going again.
I'm down. Count me in.
Yeah, I'm in.
What do you guys like to drink?
What's today? Today's Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Today is gin day.
Gin. Nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
Saturdays
that's-
are tequila days. Fridays are usually, a nice beer.
I like to drink right up to the line, but not any past.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of where
That's
I'm
the
at these days. Yeah.
But no, actually, I haven't been drinking much. I'll go through phases, but like I said, it's been 9 months, or not 9 months. It's been like 2 months since I haven't had a real drinking night. But we got a lot of great local beer breweries around here, and I try to drink wine because the doctor says to thin the blood out a little bit and live a balanced life. For booze, vodka, whiskey. Oh, I'd really like the ouzos. God, now I sound horrible, don't I? Anyways, I like a lot. I like I said, I like the spirits a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, until the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on how many spirits you have. Out there,
Are
ghost
these
listening.
evil spirits or are these nice spirits?
Nah, I don't have any evil spirits. I don't think I mean, if you get to the end of any of the drunk critiques, you'll see me about as bad as I get. Yeah, which is generally like, colorful in my language, trying to figure out how not to cry into the fucking camera. No, that's not true. Yeah.
Got some deep-seated stuff kind of seeping out there a little bit, huh?
Yeah, like I said, I don't know. I don't think there's much deep-seated. I try, I'm relatively open, maybe to a fault at times, but.
Nah, man. That's a good thing. It's hard to, from my experience, it's hard to become more and more vulnerable. That's another thing that I like about this kind of a atmosphere. You know what I mean? It's like sharing and talking a little bit more openly, especially with people that you haven't met yet. You know what I mean? Like this is a great vibe. So that's good.
Yeah.
As long as we keep the trolls out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's one thing I always try to stress too every time I make an Instagram post advertising, what I'm doing. And like, hey, come and join us. It's like it's a positive, safe environment for people to come in and hang out. We're never going to get malicious. We're never going to, sit down and bash someone like, oh man, oh, you're an apprentice. What are you doing here? No, we're here to educate and we're here to help.
Did
No,
you
we're
see
here to
the Joe
empower each other.
Capobianco when he was on here?
No.
He was going after people left and right. No, but to your point, it's definitely better not to. And it was it was somewhere in one of those drunk critique. It was out of control. But point being, no, to your point, that's the appropriate. Yeah. It's way better when people are cool, because when they're not, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But,
Now, don't get me wrong. You start mixing booze in with everything, and
all right. Well, there we
things
go.
can
That's
get
why
real wild real quick.
That's why we're thinking about figuring out a way to get that out, so it's not just quite out there, quite so public for everyone to fucking catch up on. But on the other hand, it is pretty raw and real. This is more like reality. This is kind of reality TV, right? Reality video, reality YouTube.
Maybe there needs to be some kind of disclaimer at the front of it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that would be a great idea, actually.
Yeah. Be advised,
Yeah,
alcohol is involved.
Yeah. No, by watching, you give up your right to sue.
Right. Exactly. Click yes to this link.
Are you over 18?
Right.
Are you hypersensitive? Because if so,
Exactly.
you don't want to be here.
Yeah.
But to your point, Jason, it is pretty crazy, or not crazy, but it does. No one ever really gets all that cruel, even in the worst of it. The goal is to amplify it. Well, and this is where having Guy kind of at the helm of it, being the main inspiration, he's a cool guy. He has a tremendous amount of patience. And when he doesn't have a ton of time, but he has a ton of patience. And I've listened, at a tattoo convention, I've watched, someone, they were pitching disappearing inks, right? So like you tattoo with them, and then after a year they disappear or something. And it was very much like, whoa, he's not going to get very far with Guy, And but Guy was listening to him, and again, in my mind, I'm like thinking of the things of what I would say, and being impressed with how patient Guy is, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is what I should be more patient, right? Why am I kind of jumping in my head to try to end this conversation when Guy is perfectly happy to be patient and listen to him, and really absorb it. And after it might have even been 10 minutes. It felt like 10 minutes to me. It was probably only 5 minutes. Guy was like, well, I'm not so sure people really want to pay my day rate to have it disappear. My clients generally want it to last as long as possible, but and then he kind of and then he had a conversation with him, and it was just like very awesome to be like, okay, right, the guy, and actually it was, but speaking back to Joe, like I remember learning this lesson very quickly from Joe in the very beginning. Like everybody could be a client, so it's worth just being patient and listening to people out. And the only reason why they're not on the same page that we're already on is because they haven't heard the story enough times to understand, why when they're talking to Guy, he probably won't have many clients that want the shit to disappear. But for sure, that guy's never going to think Guy's an asshole. He's going to think Guy's, a real, Guy gave him so much patience and so much respect. It was just, again, it was really inspiring to help. So anyways, to your point, really help just amplifying that spirit of sharing and being cool. And hopefully culturally, if anybody just starts to get aggro or weird, we kind of, let them know that that's not cool, and just keep this going and growing, because so far so good. We're at about 950-ish people in the community part. There's more people through the different networks of the social medias, but yeah. So it's pretty exciting. Hey Matt, how goes it? Thanks.
Hey Matt,
How's it going, guys? I'm trying to get
doing
my
pretty well.
camera set up real quick.
Man, like you were saying, as far as like Gabe, the way you treat people, the patience that you try to give them, I've always thought, I wake up and think about in the morning is, we teach people how to treat us. You know what I mean? The way that we act with them is going to be the way that they react to us. So if you kind of go in there with that thought process, it kind of changes a lot of things for
And I've been trying and learning how to do that, 40 years so far, to limited success. It's but
And that's the best part about being human, man, is that we realize that we're fucking human. You know what I mean? So we make mistakes, dude. So
Yeah. Hey, actually, real quick, could you turn your phone sideways so that we get the full camera? Yeah, you gotta shake it around a little bit, or maybe the other way.
let's see. Is that better?
No.
Is that better?
You know, if you shake it around a little bit like that, then it should get better. Unless you have it set up so that it doesn't go wide. Yeah, that's fine. That works.
Okay. Is there something in the settings? Would that be in my phone settings or on this?
It could
this app
be,
settings?
yeah. Like if you're on an iPhone and you drag it down, then there might be a way to stop it. There is a way to stop it from rotating. It looks
Okay.
like a little circle with an arrow. It's not it's not used very often. Usually it's just the gyroscope not quite catching that the phone is horizontal.
Okay.
But whatever. It's all good. It looks great. It's a horizontal piece, or it's a vertical piece. So
yeah, thank you. Well, next time I'll try to set something up a little bit more. I think I'm gonna try to get a camera and a little tripod and stuff like that for this kind of thing. So
yeah, we're just about ready with our ingredient list for like an easy setup, and then an easy setup, a medium setup, and then like the full pro setup.
nice.
And as we're seeing with Jake, sometimes like the full pro setup, it's you can get some real good cameras, but if the software or the bandwidth isn't quite catching up to it, then all of a sudden, you got to get he might just need to get another computer or something. Oh boy.
Okay.
On the other hand, I'm eagerly anticipating needing the excuse to get a new computer.
There you go.
On that topic, I think it'd be a great thing to add to the group, like different products that help like stream efficiently. I think that'd be a really good thing for a lot of people. I need help in that area, so.
Yeah, we're gonna get a Thinkific course together, kind of. So it's like one of the online courses that we're using, the online platform, and so yeah, it'll have like a PDF to download, 2 or 3 different options, and then like the software kind of setups the zoom options or the beaming straight in, as you and Jason obviously in the last couple of days have been beaming straight to the app, which is awesome. So we just need to figure out how to get a Google. We don't need to figure it out. We need to get like a Google Calendar together so that we don't overlap.
Right.
Because currently the software only allows one streamer at a time, which is great. This is one of the reasons why we wanted the platform, so that we don't have to compete. But until then, if no one's streaming, then feel free to just kind of click it.
Gotcha. Yeah, they've been fun. Kind of hard if it's not planned. I'm kind of going through my book and seeing when would be a good time to actually do those streams and.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those. It's like a chicken and egg kind of a thing, right? It's like it's wide open until somebody starts to book it, and if all of a sudden we have like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people that all want to stream, then it won't be a problem most of the time, but we'll end up figuring out the proper way to cadence for it. My guess is that we'll have a calendary schedule, and the Fridays, Saturdays are the spots. Maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturdays would be the spots that we have the least amount of programming that that we could handle on our end. I mean, we at some point we could handle more, but right now that's like the perfect spot for people to stream out tattoos or artwork that they're working on, straight to the app. And it's cool that it, with the amount of people that are on, we're just about to get through our phase where we'll start, actively really promoting, the whole thing for real, and it'll be fun to see how it grows from here. Because it's so far, like the last weekend has been the most streaming that I think we've had for a while.
Yeah, it's awesome watching the whole reinventing the tattoo grow? Because I know a lot more artists and are catching on to it that I know personally. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah, it's great to hear. You know, we've been trying real hard for the last year to just kind of get everything to work better and smoother and easier and better. And yeah, it's fun to see it actually work better and easier, so people could talk about it and not be like, it's pretty cool if you could fight through the interface. Now at this point, it's just like, hey, if I could click a couple buttons, there's still a little couple quirks, but not very many. And we're just about, like I said, we're just about finished connecting the dots so that we could put up postcards and have ads and shit and really do stuff. Yeah. But it's awesome for everyone that's that's subscribing and supporting it, because it's obviously everyone it's that growth that's making this possible and happen.
Yeah, and it really has started to expand, which is amazing.
Yeah, I know that one or two more artists that are going to start on the Monday group, so it's fun.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 7 a.m. my time tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure I'll be on there though. So
That's awesome, man.
It comes around real early, really quick, but when it's done, I'm like, yeah. Okay. And Jake goes to exercise afterwards. It's I guess it's 8 o'clock for him, because he's Central Time. Is he Central Time? He's in Memphis.
Is he Eastern or is it Central?
I think he's Central. He's one behind, so it's 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock wherever he is, which is one before.
So that's perfect. That's where I'm at then. Perfect.
Okay. And then we have at least one person, Melissa, who she's up at like 6 o'clock. So she'll start listening with her coffee.
Yeah.
And then usually about 20 minutes in, she'll start beaming in, and it's like, oh man, fucking 6:20. Okay.
Yeah.
It's but it's amazing to, again, just to habitually, work with other people to trade ideas and get a little better and think about things a little differently. And doing it consistently is just it's fun. The people that can see into the future or feel the effects in the future that stick with this kind of stuff, it's 2 years from now, there's a whole crew of people that are going to be substantially fucking more on it because of this kind of stuff. It's wicked fun. Holy Moses.
It might be even pretty cool to see people post the timeline photos, so they can kind of show like the improvements and stuff like that, and like some of the different tattoos that they're doing or something like that, man. Even the different approaches that they might take. That might be kind of fun to see.
The archive from the mobile app and the community is, it's that, without, with some tags, the video library is out of control. So all of these, again, for me, I'm like 10 years from now.
Yeah.
How many of these shows, we'll have had, apprentices, piling through the archives to pull out all the real choice bits. And, there's 5 shows a week at this point, and there's not that much filler. There's sometimes where there's a little bit of a lull, but for the most part, they're all pretty listenable, it seems. Thrown on, especially in tattoo shops, throwing on in the background or whatever. It's like not just the same fucking music that we've all beating each other up over.
We
something I absolutely love doing too, because it's almost like it's educational for the client as well as for the artist. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When clients hear you say something, this is about that, back to that gentle repeating. You say something a couple times, the front room person, the manager said it once, all of a sudden they're listening to it in the background, and they're, oh, okay, wait a minute, so-and-so said it on the TV. That's what, and it is amazing how, if we used to play this stuff when we were on our big screen TV in the front room, and psychologically people are just like, oh, I've seen you on TV.
That's cool.
It's fucking weird. It's crazy. But
No, I wake up at 4:45 every day anyway, so it's okay with me. Whatever time it works.
Damn, that's that is very early. I am up that early about 50% of the time.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready to. Matthew, you're up early too. I'm not ready to necessarily start streaming at 8 o'clock. Matt was like, "You ready to start streaming at 8 o'clock in the morning?" I'm like, I mean, Frank, like I said, Frank, I'm getting back from my walk. So if I get up at like the 4:35, I can get out for my walk 5:36. I get back by like 6:37, which is and then I have to eat, take a shower or whatever, so that by 8 o'clock I can make sure that everything's set up for the 9 o'clock start. And
Yeah.
if I had to shift all that back an hour, I just would not be able to commit to doing that. That's all.
Right.
Not saying I'm not up, and I'm not even saying I'm not up for an hour or two. I'm just saying I'm not up for an hour or two and then ready to be prepared to do a full stream.
Yeah. We run into that. So we've done Thursday morning painting for like almost a year now at our studio, and it's been hard to get other artists to dedicate that early. We're used to it. We're all early people in the studio. So.
That's impressive. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I've always been more of a late night guy where I'll stay at the studio some nights just going through and painting and drawing and working on fun projects. Like I'll be there until 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, not an issue. But waking up at any time before 8 o'clock for me is usually pretty rough. Most people just don't want to be around me at that point in time. So
that's how I was for a long time. Then after we were shut down for 3 months, I really changed my whole schedule and decided I was going to try to be a morning person. And I love it. I get so much more done. Feel way more productive.
There's no one bothering you that early.
Yeah, that's
unless you deal with Europe. That's one of my favorite things is Europe is just getting up, or they're getting to work at that time. And so anybody that's in Europe, you could always catch up with. For anybody else that's kind of an early bird here, I think I said it once before, and it almost embarrasses me, but that Clubhouse app that's about the audio rooms. I mean, it's basically something similar to this, just with audio, and fucking thousands and thousands and thousands of users. But first thing in the mornings, it's actually pretty cool to listen to. It's usually anywhere between 6 and 12 people having a discussion with anywhere between 100 and 1,000 people listening. It's Clubhouse. Like I said, it's cheesy to be like talking about the new social media fucking thing, but on the other hand, there are a fair amount of artists that are they're able to they do something similar, so it might be worth checking out if you're so inclined.
Cool.
Hey Jake, you're back.
Hey Jake.
Hey guys, yeah, I still be a little bit shaky. It's funny, I sorry, I wasn't trying to use you guys as my test. I really thought it would be easier than that, but I found that once I dropped it to lower resolution, that my overlay stayed on the display. Like my LCD overlay that showed all of the data about what's happening on the video. And I was like,
how do I
turn that off?
Nice.
So that took me 20 minutes, but now I was going to see if I can make OBS work with it. Man, I clipped out earlier, Jason, but I appreciate all the kind words about Fireside. I completely botched it this last week. We put out such a badass video with that dude, Brad Wooten, and I recorded it on Zoom in like 320 or something. Like,
oh no,
dude.
Like, so of course, like the first 10 comments are like, seriously, it's 2021 and you're recording this in 300 DPI or whatever it is. Like, well, me. So funny. Let's see here. What about projects does everyone have starting up this week? Anything new or working on existing stuff?
I got something new coming in tomorrow. It's gonna be pretty fun. Doing an octopus on this guy's left arm, shoulder down to his elbow and stuff. That'll be a pretty good time.
Man, that's always one of my favorite things to tattoo. I love to try to find clever ways to do little tentacles and suckers.
Right. like make it kind of, you know, just move like a snake, or like a very organic kind of feel to it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty fun tomorrow.
The colors that you can get out of them too. Is it black and gray or color?
Color. Well, he wants them pretty muted, to be honest with you. So it'll be kind of fun to play with some of the shapes. But yeah, no, some of the vibrant colors that you can get out of them, man, it's awesome. I agree with you on that one.
Well, even if they're muted, like that's like sometimes they get into that rock formation, so they look like rocks, right? So it's like they can do everything. That's kind of the crazy thing about them. And their brains are distributed through their bodies. Is that the truth?
I've heard something about that.
I might be talking way out of my ass.
No, I think you're onto something there, because I think they were talking about how each tentacle might have its own kind of way of thinking, even.
Insane.
Huh.
Yeah. And then the
Definitely
layers.
fun to think that.
What's that?
Oh, you.
Oh, they were just saying that the layers of pigment that they have is incredible too. There's like 3 or 4 different ways of the pigment reacting on its own to kind of counterbalance that second or third layer of pigment that they have in their skin and stuff. It's fucking insane, man.
Mm.
The camouflage they make.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, imagine having digital control over that for our skin. Now, I guess if you're dealing with CRISPR and shit, like, what the fuck? I think it's going to get crazy. I think the next 50 years, are going to see advancements like as advanced as the technology has gotten, and it's gotten crazy. I think that they're going to be using CRISPR, and they're going to use the same genetic coding to fuck up with, organics. That's going to be crazy. It's going to be exciting.
You're right.
Yeah.
They were talking about adding bioluminescence to plants and things like that too, to kind of create like natural night lights and stuff like that too, aren't they? At one point in time, and I know somebody had been talking about, or at least the possibility of that being the case, which would be fucking insane to see flowers turn on at night.
Yeah, I don't see it taking more than 20-25 years for something like that.
I mean, you have a lot of biohackers that are out there now that are already starting to play around with stuff like that.
I mean, they have Netflix specials.
Yeah.
So even if the Netflix special is still bullshit, that means in 5 years or 10 years, it's going to be half bullshit. Yeah. It's it'll get pretty nuts if we survive.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's if Skynet doesn't take over.
Skynet. Love it.
Hey, man, it's coming. We're maybe 8 or 9 years away from true artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Which is like mind blowing to me, man. Like I can't even. I can't begin to comprehend that, let alone, even just imagine what that's going to do to the world.
Have you seen? This is probably a year or two old now, but that Google's AI kind of bot, that virtual assistant that made a couple of phone calls. Like one was like it's a YouTube video. I could probably dig it up, but one they called to make a hair appointment for someone, and the conversation like goes in kind of an unpredictable way, and the AI like nails it. I just completely like the person that was making the appointment made a mistake in the scheduling. It's like, okay, so 3 o'clock on the 7th, and the AI is like, no, it's like 7 o'clock on the 3rd, or whatever it was, like something that the human transposed two things, and the AI caught it. And then the AI calls to make dinner reservations in a second call to like a Vietnamese restaurant. And the woman that answers the phone at the Vietnamese restaurant, I personally couldn't make out anything that she said. Her accent was so thick. And the AI just knocked it out of the park. It was absolutely nuts how smart this thing was. And sounded like a human, and so I started thinking instantly, I was like, no, will people be upset that they're getting tricked by AIs? Like, you'll get off the phone with what you think is someone's actual assistant, and they're like, oh, that was a robot? What the hell?
I hate robots.
No, dude, because it's their robot that's going to be answering.
Yeah.
You think anybody's going to be answering phones at restaurants? No, man, the fucking robot at the restaurant's going to be answering. They're always one step ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I just mean in the transition period,
Yeah. Well, and you're going to be able to do it like video, right? Everyone's got their face on the camera here, so the same software is going to be able to just like you can have a video conversation with somebody. That's your avatar.
Right.
Ready
Yeah,
Player One.
crazy.
Yeah, Ready Player
Will
One.
people get mad? I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably. A lot of people hate transition, right? If God wanted us to fly, we'd have wings.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Or the
there's two
ability to use
schools of thought.
CRISPR to grow wings.
In my opinion, there's generally two schools of thought on that. You have the people that, acknowledge that change is inevitable, that it's going to happen whether we want it to or not.
Right.
And then you have people that are sitting back saying things don't have to change. Why are they changing? And they're very resistive to it. In my experiences, people that try to fight change are gonna keep fighting an uphill battle. If you can embrace it and understand that change is the only constant in the universe, whether we want it or not, it's going to change. So if we can embrace that concept, then we all live much better, easier, happier lives. It's just a matter of whether or not you can adapt to that change.
Well, forward thinking it's hard for a lot of people, man. I think that's proof positive these days. You know what I mean? So I don't know. As long as I can have my own 3 CPO, then I'm okay with that,
Right.
I like the improvements Jake's making on the cameras. It looks really good.
Yeah, thanks. It's I'm just kind of working it out now for whatever reason. I think it's because I started the call and the OBS at 2 different times, but now for whatever reason, it's not showing the OBS virtual cam as an option. So I reopened ManyCam and it's not recognizing it either. But probably if I shut Zoom down and started it back over, it would find it. But
yeah, often I found with my high def camera here is that as soon as one thing claimed it, it couldn't be claimed by anything else, right? So if like I have my Zoom hooked up to it, then I'm using Wirecast. My Wirecast or my OBS wouldn't hook up to it. But then if I shut it all down and restarted it, it would work just fine. But it works just fine off of one. But on the other hand, I don't know. So usually what I end up doing is I put mine in like OBS and then just run it as virtual camera.
That's what I was trying to do. Yeah, running that OBS virtual cam. I haven't had trouble with that leading up. I mean, it typically Zoom has recognized ManyCam and OBS for me since I've been testing it. And the only issue was that I was just trying to stream in 4K and let the yeah, slowly but surely. Yeah, man, I think that if you look at if you're trying to do content creation or like in our case tattoo education and stuff, and in your case too. If you look at YouTube analytics or any of the analytics, everyone is switching over since YouTube is an app on smart TVs. People just watch YouTube constantly on 60-inch TVs, and our show looks so terrible and sounds so terrible. I never considered that when we started that would be a thing. I thought people would watch it on their phones, and so now it's time, especially if we're trying to move to be, to entertain, sponsors or it's got to look better. So we're trying to make that step up.
Yeah, it's going to take me I need another 6 months to upgrade what I got here, but Mark from Needle Jig, he's got a good setup.
We were talking about that. His camera looks great. I'd like to talk to him about it. I was just texting with Russ earlier about there are a couple of snags that I'm still having using this setup, and it's essentially what Russ is using. So we're going to jump on a call and see if he can help me to fix I've got a little bit of a lag in my audio coming from the shotgun mic into the camera and then into the laptop, and it's just annoying to drag it and correct it in Premiere. We talked about it on that last video. You saw that it was a little bit off, and that's something I shouldn't have to screw with every time. Surely there's a way to like offset the video and audio by milliseconds or whatever to allow for it. So
it's basically just a lot of information getting pushed through. And it's going through a couple different spots, and you basically just need to optimize each of those spots, right? So the cables just need to, sometimes, just want to use, good high quality cables, but in the fastest ones, right? So like if you have the option to use like USB 3 or like, I don't know, Thunderbolt or something. You just need to have the fattest pipes, and the high def cameras look really nice, but it's also the highest amount of information that you could push through. So if you try to do 2 of those, it's then all of a sudden you're doing twice as much. You can really start pushing your equipment to the max. But on the other hand, it's like, it looks really nice, and you push that shit to the max, and it's like, it looks better than CNN.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I noticed is that I really didn't even know the difference between like just a charging cable and a data cable. Like I would just notice that some stuff didn't work, and I'd be like, oh, and maybe it's something wrong with my, or look it up, and it's like, oh, I might not have the right cable for that. Or I have, because we've been doing Fireside for so long, I've probably got 40 SD cards, and none of them would handle a 4K recording in this new camera. So I had to go order a new SD card that could handle the load of this camera. So I'm learning as I go.
And you want those to be fast too. Like everything for video should be, well, big and fast, right?
Right. Yeah, I was just looking. I think this MacBook Pro that I have is only a 2017 or 2018. It's not old, and I didn't realize that there was an issue with it. But trying to edit this video, I've struggled, and so I was looking at maybe upgrading it. Luckily, they're still giving pretty good trade-ins on one that's as new as mine. So I think I may switch over to this new M1 processor or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm working off of too. I've got the 2017 15-inch MacBook Pro that, I kind of went pretty high end with it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to try to future-proof it, and then, it's future-proofing for how long? What, 3-4 years now?
Yeah.
It's
that's all you get. That's the thing, it's like, and if you think about it, like, I did like you. I bought mine's a 13-inch, but I bought the fastest, biggest one that they made at the time. And I probably spent, I don't know, maybe it was $2,500 or something like that. But you think about how often I use it in 3 years, and it's part of what I do for a living. It's like, if I buy a tattoo machine for $600 or $800 and it breaks, it's not like I'm like bitching about buying another one. It's like, that's just what you do. You just go buy another one. Maybe not that same one, but go buy another one. Speaking of tattoo machines, I've had the weirdest thing happen the last few weeks. I've been using battery power for a while, and I started noticing that my Scorpion from Ink Machines was shorting out an RCA jack just occasionally. It was just like when the battery pack would spin, I would lose power. And so I tried it with several different battery packs, and I just kind of decided it was the machine. So I sent it back off to Ink Machines, and they repaired it. No sooner did I send that thing off, my Bishop wand, which is new, had the same thing start happening. And it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I tried 3 or 4 different battery packs with it. I've got the new critical battery packs, and I've got my cheap Amazon jobs. It shorts with all of them. So then I just went and plugged it into a power supply, like straight on like a regular power supply with an RCA cord, and it does it with that too. So it's obviously a short and RCA jack in the machine. But it's just so weird that all the years I've been tattooing with RCA jacks, I've never had that happen. And then it happened twice within like a week of each other. Strange. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but it's weird.
No, man, I had an FK Irons, what is it, the Zion, and I put an external battery pack on the RCA, and the RCA, it started doing the same thing, kind of clipping out a little bit here and there. It reminded me of like whenever you used to use the clip cords, and that clip cord wasn't secure enough in there, and it would just kind of like short out a little bit here and there. It was the same reaction to the machine, and eventually it just stopped, dude. It just completely stopped. But I finally started like just touching the RCA jack, and it was very loose, man, the whole thing. So so I think that's what it is. It's like that weight when you're shaking it around in the cup, maybe, or just even the movement, it kind of like wobbles over time,
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. But the battery, I was thinking maybe it was because I switched over to battery power and the weight of the batteries were causing troubles. But these batteries are so light, and then I think about the weight of a clip cord as I sling it around and roll over it and everything else. Yeah, it's like, well, that's probably just as heavy. I don't know.
I had the same problem that you had with the older machine, but I'm using that Flux now, and I haven't had too many problems with it at all. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually it's on my list of next purchases for machine. I'm still kind of up in the air between the Flux and the Cheyenne.
Mhm.
But
I love my
Really?
Shine.
yeah,
By
I've
far,
been hearing good things about both. So it's like, all right, well, when do I want to pick up?
I've heard nothing bad about the Flux either. I've not used it, but
And that's the FK that has the built-in battery power. That's the Flux, right?
Yep.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was someone was using that. I went up and got tattooed in Virginia last month, and another guy that was tattooing there with Andy was using it and really loved it. I looked at it. Haven't used one. Andy's using some, like, I don't know. It looks basically like those machines but it's like an Amazon version that he got for $300 or something like that.
The Ambition.
I don't know. I can't remember what it was called. But I mean, it looks basically, the same.
It's a mast. I think it's called mast or something like that.
Uh,
Well, there's the Mast. There's the Ambition. I have the Mast. I use that every now and then. It's all right. I don't think it's really got a 3.5 millimeter stroke on it, but it doesn't seem to have the same kind of direct drive 3.5 punch that my other machines do. And I picked up another one on Amazon for like $150, and that thing's great. It's heavy, but it's nice.
yeah.
I love hearing Carson and the new Numa 4s are making the rounds with some people again, and they're sticking with people. They're not cordless yet, I guess, but that'll be on its way. I was just talking with Baxter.
Yeah, the battery packs, just the Amazon battery packs or the criticals, both the ones that I use, they lock in tight to that Numa. I really like it. Yeah, they feel great and they work great with it. I actually just I abandoned I'm doing too many things at once, but I went to order the aluminum bearing arm for it to see if maybe the machine, even at low voltages or all the cams that I've tried, it's just a little aggressive for me. It hits pretty hard, and the way that I tattoo, I just need something a little bit softer. And I was talking to Ty Pilata, and he said that that aluminum bearing arm is a much softer hit. So, and he's doing, Ty works a lot differently and faster than me, but the work he's been putting out lately, just these big, smooth fields of saturated color, large scale stuff that looks so clean, and he's like using that aluminum arm, and the 33%er, I think, is the cam he said he's using, and he said he's getting no irritation and just great saturation. So I'm gonna order those two and try it. What I've found is that, like, I have spent my entire tattoo career using machines the way that they were set up to be used, and anytime they give me options, I end up screwing stuff up. Like, just set it up and I'll figure out how to make it work. Seems to be the best way for me. That goes all the way back. I was thinking earlier about I bought I don't know if any of you guys remember the Time Machine from Danny Fowler. Yeah, those were like they were completely customizable. They had slots instead of holes drilled in the frame, so you could move the contact screw up and down. You can move the position of the coils. Everything was in slots that you could slide around. And I bought it and I thought that was so cool. And I started messing with them and I never got them to work right because I changed it. And I was just like, well, I guess these are trash. I had to finally send them back to him. I was like, can you just set these back the way that they were?
You're probably so close too, man. It's incredible.
yeah, probably. It didn't take much.
Yeah, I remember those machines. They were great, dude. I used to use those things all the time.
Yeah. I did too. They were super cool. I had 2 or 3 of them over the years, and they did like a trade-in program. I was sending old coils back to them for like $100 credit, or and they weren't old. I mean, I'd only been tattooing for 2 or 3 years at that point, but it was like the coils that came with my Spalding and Rogers kit. Like I would send in for credit for the Time Machine. So he was doing some pretty interesting stuff back then.
Yeah. I know he had a video that you could buy that it would kind of teach you about like some of the basic mechanics of like the old coils and stuff like that too. That kind of blew my mind at that time because there wasn't really too much like that going on. You know what I mean? So
yeah. There was another. I should go look for it. I know I have the book. There was another book that I picked up around that time that I rarely run into anyone that remembers it, but it was called Tattoo Machines and Their Secrets. Does that sound
Yes.
familiar? You remember
The
that?
Gotti brothers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you're the first person. I don't know how long that's remembered that book. I felt like, and I don't know where I was introduced to it or how I came across it, um, but I guess it must have been at least in the the internet age, because I had to have ordered that thing online. Whereas I know my early stuff I was ordering from catalogs. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The,
very
what
good,
were they
very
called?
unique philosophy.
Goody, good,
Goody,
like
Gotti,
Gotti or Godoy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating like concept and very interesting perspective on the way that, they approach machine tuning. I spent a bit of time working with a guy that used to build his own and taught me all the little inside tricks to, get him to run whatever way you wanted to and why and all that stuff. We machined a few frames out and, built up a few, learned how to wrap coils and wind coils and what's the
Yeah.
difference between them and, the whole nine. And came across that book and I was like, oh, this is a unique perspective on it. Because like in this, they're saying like every machine that you own you should be able to line with it, shade with it, and color with it. And it's like,
Yeah.
interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So then why do we need to own so many different machines?
Right.
And a lot of that ends up coming down to personal preference and collectability, et cetera, et cetera. But it was definitely a part of my machine tuning and learning course, I guess you would say, because I spent a lot of time looking into that because, if I was going to invest so much money into a machine, then, let me at least know how to change a spring. That way I only have to buy a $3.50 part as opposed to a whole new $500 machine. And it's like, that's fine and interesting. And that's great for you to take that on. But when it comes down to it, you're going to spend more time tuning the machine and trying to get it to run the way that it was originally set up, then you are going to be making money. So it was kind of counterproductive in a way, but I learned a lot and that was kind of helpful. So
Yeah.
but it was an interesting learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had another one by I think it was Dano Collins. No, it wasn't Dano. Forget what the name of it was, but there were a couple of other ones that were out there that were really, really interesting as far as like, just tattoo machines and how they worked and all that stuff. Danny Fowler actually used to have up a lot of information on his website about, this is what separates me from other people. I'll only use like first run copper wire, so it's always consistent. When you start to get into the varying width of the magnetic wrapping wire that you're using around coils, that's going to have a difference in, the resistance that's created by each coil, how each coil is ohm matched to the other one. So he really got into like the really super technical side of it.
Yeah.
I didn't so much, but it was still really, really interesting to learn about.
Yeah, absolutely. I was challenged enough just tattooing back at that time that I didn't like you're saying, I didn't want to get too deep in it. I just wanted it to work. But now, 20 something years later, and especially like trying to come up with fun things to talk about on the show and stuff like that, I've got to I really enjoy just listening to people who go deep in whatever it is. That's how Ty Pilata and I got to be friends, because he just like every we were tattooing together a little bit, but every show he would go buy another machine and just pour over it. He'd take it back to his hotel room and just like, take it apart and play with it and starts like messaging the builder and saying like, I think if you do this or if you flip this, that like trying to like, contribute to the next version of it or whatever else. And I was like, man, it's so cool that you're like so deep into that, into the, engineering side of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now
But
you are using the Numa 4, right?
me? Yeah, it's a little aggressive for me. I love it for it's a great liner. I haven't had a lot of luck coloring with it yet, but I think that I'm hoping this other bearing arm, this aluminum bearing arm helps me with that. It's just me. I mean, everyone loves the machine. Like I said, Ty is doing awesome work with it. Howie Horowitz is doing like super clean. You know, I don't know if you guys follow Howie, but like his style of tattooing, there's no room for any technical error, or it just like shines through. Like all of his lines.
I'm pulling them up now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and so like Howie's stuff has to be like so technically precise just because of how he actually works. And he's using it and having, scroll down just a little bit. Let's see, I think that's an old heel tap. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Scroll down a little bit to one that's like a pineapple with a light blue background. I called him after this one because I was like, man, there's no freaking way you did this with that machine. He's posted a lot. Okay, a little bit further.
Amazing work.
Yeah, you see how clean? There you go. See that pineapple right there? He did that. That was one of his first tattoos with the Numa 4. And like, I know that blue. I use that blue all the time. Look at that. Like, crap, dude. It's like no irritation in it. So I called him and I was like, man, you're doing that. Like, what cam are you using? And he told me whatever his setup was with it. And I just haven't had the same luck as everyone else.
What's the stroke length that you have on that?
I bounce around.
Comes with like...
Yeah, it comes with the 20%. Oh man, Carson sent me all of them, so I got them all mixed up in my head now. I've been through every cam option. I've tried them all, from the 40%, is it a 3.5? On his site, you can tell what they are. I don't know. I would just be making it up. The numbers all run together in my head because it's
3.5 and something else.
Yeah, there are like 5. I think I have 5 different cams, and now there's at least one more that I don't have that's come out since then. But it's the percentage is the amount of dwell time in the skin, and then the stroke. So it's 2 different 2 different factors in each cam that you're measuring. One is the amount of dwell time in the skin, and the other is the stroke length.
Right.
This is all Baxter's work.
Yeah, I love what he's done lately, man. He's really like kind of reinvented himself in an interesting way. Nick.
Yeah.
His tattoos don't look like at all like they used to me.
That's gorgeous.
He's always, constant refinement, improvement, self-reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as good as his stuff, he's one of those guys that as good as everything looks online, his tattoos are always better.
So much better. I remember when he first came on the scene, like back in the Dark Side days, and I didn't get tattooed by him right away. I waited, for like 3 years until he got really good.
Yeah.
That was like 20 years ago at this point, almost.
Yeah. This piece on my hand that he did,
I'll zoom in on you.
This piece that he did on my hand was in 2005. Can you see that? Is it focusing on it?
Now we can, yeah.
Yeah, it was in 2005. And I mean, it's still...
Hold your hand flat straight. You just lost the focus. There you go.
Yeah. And
can you like stand up and get it down natural, like the way you would have a client do it?
Yeah, let's see. Let me give it a second to focus there, but well, it's supposed to focus a little better than that, isn't it?
There you go.
Yeah, so 2005. So what is that? 16 years old. Isn't that crazy? I mean, you can see it's definitely faded some, but it's like just the texture and stuff, and the acorn and the like.
16 years old.
Yeah, he did. Awesome. He went back through the texture of it maybe in 2011 or 12, but I mean the vast majority of it is from 2005. So absolutely great. Yeah.
I can't believe I've been aware of you and your work that long. That's out of control.
Been aware of his work.
Were you doing the podcast? You weren't doing the podcast.
Oh no, I wasn't podcasting. No, I met him by chance way before the podcast. He was tattooing a guy that came to Memphis and tattooed with me for only a short period of time. Maybe this guy named Leif Olson. Really good illustrator. Do you know him?
Yeah, he came through and did a guest spot at one point.
Okay, so he tattooed with me at Underground Art, and Nick was working on a sleeve for him, and this was 2004, 2005. And so Nick came through and did a guest spot, and had nothing booked. I mean, other than just to work on Leif's sleeve. And so I just was in the back room with him, and I was like, man, I've been wanting to get a sacred acorn. And so he just drew it up right there, and we did it the next day. And yeah, and then I lost contact with him for several years, and then reached back out when we started Fireside. He was one of the first people I reached out to see if he'd come on the show.
Nice. Yeah, he's out of control. Here's
Yeah.
sharing this kind of crazy painting stuff. And
Yeah.
actually, just while we're here, anybody that's watching, he does have 2 art jams in the Reinventing library,
Yeah.
and also has a webinar over at the firesidetattoo.com.
Yeah, firesidetattoo.com. We did about a 7-hour workshop with just me kind of standing next to him while he worked on a still life, and we broke it up. I think it's like 8 modules long. It's real inexpensive. I think it's $30 or $40 for the webinar, but you just kind of break it up into chunks. It's a lot of content, so I think it's broken up into like anywhere from like 8 to 15-minute modules.
Awesome.
But it's definitely worth $30 or $40. It's really good. Yeah, those are crazy. He just sent me, I may have shown them to you. I got 4 of his plein air paintings just before Christmas. He had posted a video of his studio. He just had like piles of these little plein airs like that, all those little things. Yeah, it was one of those that he posted, and I was like, hey, what are the bulk discounts on those? And he was like, let's talk. And so I ended up picking up 4 that are all super cool.
Yeah, he sells his paintings. It's nbaxter.com, and he is still taking tattoo clients too if you have great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
nbaxter.com is the painting site.
Yeah.
I'm just going to kind of click here at random, but get into some of this crazy shit.
Yeah, and that stuff was all that blood ritual stuff was so crazy, so good.
All right, guys, I got to get going in just a minute.
Yeah, we've been
the other snow blowers starting to go, so
awesome.
Yeah,
we're at 3 hours, so let's here I'll spotlight you, and then we could spotlight for everyone.
Awesome. So thanks again for tuning in, everyone. My name's Jason Leeser. I work at the Inkwell Tattoo in Southampton, PA. My Instagram is @PhillyInk. If anyone ever wants to get a hold of me to ask questions or, maybe propose topics to go over, anything like that, feel free to get a hold of me. I'd be happy to talk your ear off about anything. Thanks for joining in today. On to whoever's next.
Awesome. Let's we're gonna throw on Ricardo, and you'll have to talk a little bit, but then definitely show off. Make sure you show off your artwork and let people know how they could book that for a back piece if they want.
That'd be great. My name is Ricardo Sturdivant. I'm from Bloomington, Illinois. The name of the shop is Candor Tattoo. I'm on Instagram at Candor Tattoo. I had a great time being here, man. I look forward to doing many, many more of these. So yeah, it's great to meet all you guys. And let me show you this real quick. Hopefully it kind of flips around the right way.
That looks cool.
Yeah, looks great. Somebody needs that.
Yeah, man, definitely. Somebody loves bugs enough to get that. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
cool, man.
Okay, so Jake,
Yeah.
you get to close us out, Jake, and
yeah, you don't have to spotlight me. I'm Jake. I'll be on here tomorrow, actually, tomorrow morning doing and Jason, sorry, I didn't mean to hijack your show to work out my technical problems.
Hey, no problem, man. No problem at all.
I appreciate you letting me do it. Tomorrow morning, I'll be working on. You see that? I'll be working on this guy here. I'm adding on to an existing piece, and I just roughed in the outline, so I'm gonna shade it and make it all look cohesive tomorrow morning. Hopefully, while at 8 o'clock when we do our little morning coffee draw, and
that's 8 o'clock Central.
Central, yeah, Central. And hopefully hopefully everything works, and you can see like the way that Jason has his set up. We can see like the drawing and the camera. So
awesome.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, if you need
All
to
right.
test out at all, man, just let me know. Shoot me a message, and we'll
Okay.
fire up another session and do some testing.
Cool. I may do that. If I can't get it work, I may take you up on that maybe later on this evening. I'm going to watch a little football and then probably jump back on it.
Right on, man. Sounds good.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take
Adios.
care.
Have fun, everyone. Cheers.
Nice to meet you guys. Take it easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
again
you.
for being